everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Frames, a PlayStation podcast. I am here, as always, with the Metal Gear Solid to my Final Fantasy VII. It's Joe Smalley. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm pretty good.
I'm glad to hear that because you've had a rough last week. Let's get right into it. Like, what's your week been like?
Well, obviously we recorded the last episode post camping trip, as everyone that listened to episode 2 would know, and it's kind of, it's hard to talk about, but basically, like, I came back, I did the episode with you, I recorded, I was like high on life in many ways, like great camping trip, great recording session, and then like as I was editing the footage, but just before I was editing the footage, I called my dad, and like he was like clearly down, right, like. And I was just telling him all about my trip and stuff, and I was like, "What's up with you? I can tell something's like really, really off with you." And he said, "You're we call her Auntie Clarice, but she's technically my great Auntie Clarice. She's dying." And I just said to him like, I was like, "What?" Like that's the only thing I could say.
Yeah.
And he went into the whole thing. And essentially what happened was she had a hip operation because she actually broke her hip because she had brittle bone syndrome or disease or whatever, and she essentially like because of the hip replacement she was doing really well. She was on the mend, and a blood clot occurred somewhere within her leg, I assume, I think, and it traveled to her heart and caused her to have a heart attack, which then cut off oxygen to her brain, and she was essentially like, as far as I know, she was like brain dead or something like that, and she was in hospital in the ICU and stuff like Friday night, so we were recording on the Sunday. It's one of those things where it's like still shocking to think about. Like I'm still kind of in that state of limbo. And she and yeah, so I was like, right, well, I'm coming down in the morning, no questions asked, like, let me get there, like, so I went down in the morning as early as I could. I got there, and my dad came out the door, and the first thing he said to me was, "She's gone." And I didn't know what to say. Like, it was, I've not really known what to say for all of it in many ways, just to be there for everyone, and yeah, and we went to the hospital, and she was just, and this is the first time I've ever like lost someone in my family. Like it's the first time ever, and she was there on the bed, and she passed, and yeah, dude, it was really emotional, and like I sat next to my nan, who's her sister. I'm really close with my nan. I was really close with Clarice as well, and like I'd sat down next to her and held her hand, and it took literally everything in my body to not like break down there, because like seeing my nan so strong through all this is like really powerful to me, and like she's such a strong woman and an awesome person and an amazing grandparent, and yeah, so like I swallowed it big time for my nan and for everyone else, and yeah, we talked about like how she would have liked to see everyone around, like Clarice, that this is like to see everyone in this room with her, talking about the good times and stuff, even though she has passed. And yeah, it was really upsetting, but also like very moving as well for how everyone can come together and stuff. And the craziest thing about it, and I told my dad this the night he told me about this news that she was passing away, before she did, he said to me, or I said to him rather, I was sitting on, like I said, I was on a tar on a lake with amazing, beautiful sunset and stuff, sitting on a rock above camp, like 100 meters up or whatever. And I remember like saying to myself out loud when I was looking at all this, like, I need to start appreciating people more around me. And as I was saying that, Auntie Clarice was in hospital, like fighting for her life, essentially.
You didn't even know it.
Yeah. And I didn't know it because I was out of service. Like my dad didn't want to text me to like ruin my weekend, like ruin my day out, my weekend out. Yeah, it's a lot, dude, and it's one of those things where I'm still like in shock in many ways. I'm slowly coming to terms with it. Like my shock has turned to sort of like that depression state in grieving in many ways. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like I don't know necessarily if my how do I say this? Like my sitting on the rock and saying that, or like just talking about how awesome like Anticlaris was, speaks to this, but I don't know whether it speaks to just like we all need to remember to appreciate the people around us like so much because you never know when the last time you're going to see them is, like if you only talk to your parents like once every year, you know, and they're 50, you might see them for another 30 times in your life, or speak to them another 30 times in your life or whatever. Like it's a scary thought, and it's grounding in many ways, but yeah, like she was awesome, dude. Like she was so awesome. She was so outspoken, and she was so funny and like full of life. Like she was I think 85, 86, something like that. And she was so like she was like a 20, 30-year-old in terms of how, like her mental space, her mentality. Like she was always busy. She was always like, we always used to call her like I used to call her Frodo. Because she was only like 4'10", 4'9" or whatever, and she was so small. I used to pat her on the head and stuff, and yeah, dude. Like, but she'd be that small and that like, but she's so feisty. Like, if she saw teenagers littering across the road, like she'd scream at them, "Oi, pick that out, you bugger!" and all that stuff.
That's hilarious. Love that.
Yeah, dude. She was absolutely incredible of a person and an amazing great auntie. She was so loving and stuff, and yeah, it's hit us all really hard.
Yeah,
and
could imagine.
Yeah, it's hit me throughout the week. Like I haven't been playing games as much. I haven't been like active potentially as much on like Discord and all my group chats and stuff. That's my week.
It's weird, dude. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to think about and feel that I don't think people understand unless they have experienced it. And like, to be fair, I guess just to back it up and then come and bring us back up to where we're at now. So for those of you that don't know, Joe and I tried to start Critical Frames as a podcast back in late September of last year, so that was 9 months ago now or something like that.
Yep.
And then like a couple weeks in, my father-in-law died.
Yeah.
And he was really sick and then he died. And so that was one of a few reasons why we didn't continue doing the podcast, why it kind of fell apart. There was more than just that, but that was like the kind of what do they say? The what is it that broke the camel's back? I always get that.
Straw.
The straw that broke the camel's back. And it's a couple, to touch on a couple things that Joe said. One, whenever I listen to a podcast or watch a video of somebody talking about a loss they've experienced, I usually have this really selfish thought in my head that I'm examining the person and I'm saying to myself, they don't look sad enough, or how are they here podcasting about video games when they lost someone, or how are they not crying right now? And I judge them up and down in my head, and it's like it's something I can't control, right? Like I would never ever say anything like that out loud. No. I wouldn't even say that to someone behind the scenes. I'm just thinking it to myself because I'm going, how could you, like, even awful thoughts like, well, you must not have been that close because you're here 4 days later. Yeah. And I only know how wrong that is. Like, I knew it was wrong then, but I knew it was wrong, but I didn't know how I was wrong. Now I know for sure because when I lost my father-in-law, this is my wife's father, I talked to people in the Discord within a couple days. I talked to Joe. Mm-hmm. We did a podcast within 2 weeks, I think, where we talked about video games. I wasn't here crying. I looked relatively fine. And I went about my life. I watched movies and shows and stuff. I think I played Cyberpunk within a week or two. But I was still feeling it. Oh, first of all, I felt it a lot in the moment. Like, I'm crying. Yeah. I'm upset. I'm staring out into the middle distance thinking about how can I not ever see him again in this life?
Yeah.
How is that? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't compute with my brain. Like, there is no, like, if I do this thing, or if I become a millionaire or a billionaire, or if I managed to jump across a giant, like, there's no feat of strength that can lead me to seeing that person again.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I felt awful. I felt sad. I cried. I talked with my wife. I talked with my family. I was comforted by my parents coming into town. Like, I went through all of that for real. And also, like, I played video games less. I started reading books.
Yep.
Just because it was just like I don't know, it was just the mood I was in led me to not want to interact with games and stuff as much. And so all those feelings were very real, and I was suffering in that way, depressed, but like, you're still able to, I mean, not everyone is, but like a lot of people, at least eventually, at the least case, you're able to still perform, right?
Yeah,
whether it's at your
yeah.
job or come here and talk about video games, like, you're able to still do that. And it doesn't lessen at all the seriousness of what you felt or how much you cared about that person. And another thing too that Joe said that I'll touch on is like not fully grasping how much you cared about that person or loved it. Like I have no doubt that if I had asked Joe 3 weeks ago about his great aunt, he would have talked about how much he loves her and cares about her, no doubt. But you still don't realize to what level till now. And I didn't realize that because like so I've been married to my wife for 5 years. So I've known my father-in-law for 5.5 years. That's the only time he's been in my life. He's my father-in-law, right? He's not my birth dad. He's not my dad. Yeah. And I've only known him for 5.5 years. So I knew I loved him. I knew I cared about him. I know I enjoyed his presence. I knew I'd be super sad if he passed away. But then once he was gone, it was like, I'm like crying and I'm saying like, I remember when we were at the funeral, like I told my wife, I was like, because the funeral just ended, it was over. And it's where they have the casket above ground before they've lowered it, and they give the family time. And I told my wife, I was like, let's pray over his casket real quick. And I was praying, I held it together the whole funeral, hadn't cried at all. And in my prayers, I was like, I could almost feel the water coming to my eyes now saying it. Like in my prayer, I was like, thank you for being such an amazing father-in-law to me and an amazing papa to my daughter. Yeah. And then and saying that and like realizing how real that feels. And then also like, holy shit, thank God my daughter got to meet him and play with him and laugh with him. But she was 1 year old on the dot almost so she's never going to get to have that. And then there's, after that all happens, then like certain things start to happen, or you start to think about things that like punctuate how sad the moment is. My father-in-law wrote a Christmas card to my daughter just 9 months prior that basically said, hey, in case I die, I want you to let her know, I want you to show her this card to let her know when she's old enough how much I cared. And it's like, like, how can I read this and not? He also wrote me a letter talking about how he was appreciative of me being a great husband and father. And he wrote that card while he was sick a month prior to him dying to me. And like, so I started to just like, I was just, I cry and just like think about how much I am sad that he's gone and how much I cared about him. And I knew I cared about him. I knew I'd be sad, but it's almost like, and of course, leave it to Brian to break it down to like video game scores, but it's almost as if like I knew I loved him a 9.5 out of 10. I was like, holy shit, it was an 11. It was an 11, bro. Yeah. I didn't realize it's like, it was really high. I really cared, but like I cared even more. Yeah. So it's a combination of like, first of all, for those, I know there's got to be people out there like me who listen and go, it doesn't sound sad enough, or how is he here? Like you said, this is a week ago or not even a week ago. I know there's people out there who probably think like that, like I do. And it's like, that's definitely real. And there's some people who, might be in a corner crying for months and that's how they cope. But I think a lot of people, they are able to function at least intermittently. And then also just, you don't know how much you care about them.
Yeah. Everyone deals with it differently, dude. I mean, like, I'm not the most like it's weird because like I am tearful, but like, I think what I've realized when it comes to this situation is I'm mostly tearful for the people around me. Like that's what that's what sets me off. Like I said with my nan and stuff. Like the night when I called my dad and he told me all this, it was mostly shock with kind of like teary-eyed, like this is my perspective, like teary-eyed all the way through, and then just kind of like blown away, like just can't believe this is happening. And then I like we was on like video call, and then he took the phone down, and my nan was there, and he put my nan on, and like she was just like, yeah, we just got to keep going, like, it happens and stuff. Like she was just so like, and you could tell like she's hurting, obviously, but like she was just so strong and smiling and giggling and stuff. And it like, when by the time he took the phone back and went into another room or whatever, like I was just like, I wasn't sobbing, I wasn't destroyed, but I was crying, like, and that's what got me. And same with my dad, like when I went into the kitchen and my dad's there, and he starts crying, and then I'm like hugging him and crying a little bit because he's crying, and like, yeah, so it's, everyone just deals with it differently in many ways, and that's what I found.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it took a lot.
I get it entirely.
Yeah.
My wife, this is her father. I cried more than my wife because my wife is very, if you know her, she's an extremely logical person. So she's just like, she did cry more than once, but I literally, I cried more than she did. But my wife is the kind of person who's like, okay, like Brian, if you already own this game on Xbox One, why would you buy it again on Xbox Series X? And I'm like, well, because it's got a higher resolution. It's got a higher frame rate. And she's like, but why would you spend $50 again? Just play the old one. And I'm like, nah, I can't do that. Yeah. So she's always logical. So for her, and even now, like her thing is like, I shouldn't be crying and depressed because my dad's gone, and that's how it is. And it's like, but I'm not like that. I'm just like, I guess I got to lean into it, and like, so just, but seeing the times when my wife did cry, knowing how strong she is and how logical she is. And just like I told this, I think I don't know if I said in the Discord or where, but like every morning when I get up for work, my wife's completely asleep still because I get up super early. Mm-hmm. I give her a kiss and I say, have a good day. And she says, have a good day. Love you, whatever. And the morning after she found out her dad was going to die, I kissed her and I said, I love you, babe. And she goes, I love you, daddy. And dude, my heart melted because I'm like, because she's half asleep, and you know where her mind's at, right? She said that because she's not thinking about me. Yeah. She's thinking about him, and it just like crushed me, to think that. So see it, like, that's just to reiterate your point of like seeing people around you. Yeah. Sometimes struggle with it is sometimes even harder than yourself. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to end this in many ways, like this sort of intro. It's
you don't want to just be like, okay, now this, but yeah. I mean, how was the rest of your? And go ahead and say what the rest of you want to say. I'm not trying to cut you off, Jill. But how was the rest of your week moving on from that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say like to take, I guess, a positive away from this is like, I know Auntie Clarice wouldn't have wanted us to all be sad, and to all be crying and stuff, and she would have wanted us to be giggling and stuff because she was like the one that would throw like big street parties and stuff. Like I never experienced them, but when she was younger, she used to like throw big street parties for like, I don't know, the Queen's Jubilee and stuff, and all that, and everyone around the street would come and like have a proper like street party and have food and just and great times and stuff like that. So to me, she's not the kind of person that would, obviously, I don't think anyone would be who passes away in families and stuff, but she wasn't the kind of person to want you to hang up on this and be upset to the extent where you're like in a pool of tears. I think she would have wanted you to remember all the funny things she did and stuff, and all the swearing and cussing she used to do when even all the way into until she passed away. So yeah, she was fantastic. And I think honestly, take away from this is like I said, appreciate everyone. I certainly will go and from here on out, like, appreciate everyone in every moment around you, friends, family, even like random strangers on the street in many ways, because like, we've all got so little time on this earth, and let's just try and make a good time out of it, you know what I'm saying, and make it last. So yeah.
I have a friend who I've learned a lesson from my friend. I took it to heart. I have a good friend who when we got out of high school, he moved. So his parents are divorced. Yeah. And he moved to California, which was, we were from Illinois, so very big distance of states there. And so he moved with his mom in California, and he was in California for 7 years. And in the whole 7 years he was in California, he kept saying that soon he would go back to see his dad the next year. And after 7 years, his dad died of a heart attack, and he was only in his 50s. And he immediately went back home. But when he got home, like his dad wasn't dead, as in they hadn't pulled the life support yet, but his dad was gone.
Yeah.
And this was years and years late after that, he was telling me about this in my living room in my house. And he was just like, he was crying and he was tearing up all over again. He's just like, he hates that he didn't go back sooner. Cause he always was just, next year, going that many states. And like when you got your life going on, your job and all that, it's easy for that time to pass by. And I don't, and I understand his like how he like regrets that, but I also clarified to him that like he didn't do anything wrong either. He obviously wishes he had done differently, but didn't do something wrong. But I've taken that to heart because not too long after I talked to him about that, I mean, literally within 6 months, I moved here with my wife, and now my parents are 4 or 5 hour drive away, and I am making sure that we see each other every month or two. Yeah. And even if it's a pain in the ass, and sometimes it is because I'm like, oh, we got a baby. Yeah. I worked all week. I'm tired. We're going to drive 5 hours to my parents. Then we got to drive back in 2 days. Yeah. Oh, like we should just skip it. And I'm like, no.
But you'll be so thankful, dude. Like when that eventual time comes. Yeah. You'll be so thankful.
Exactly. Yeah. It's always worth it. But yeah, I mean, did you do anything else in your week, Joe? Before I go over to kind of what I was up to?
I've been really nailing down like Separate Ways DLC still. Like I'm still on that. Like I said, I haven't been playing games that much. But I've been nailing. I'll talk about it later in terms of what I think to like the sort of trophy run of that DLC. Yeah, it's kind of slipping a little bit in terms of quality now that I'm on the hardest difficulty. But just chilling mostly, like trying to get through it, just relaxing.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably. I figured that kind of how your week would be. I mean, I don't have anything too particularly interesting for my week. I got my sound bar for my TV finally came in, so I hooked that up, and then I do what I always do when I'm testing sound out. Is I go to the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers. I go to the Battle of Helm's Deep, and I crank that shit up. I told my wife and daughter to go outside so that I didn't blow their eardrums out, and I was like, yes, very good. So that was awesome. I finally, for the first time ever, finished watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, the TV series. My wife showed it to me because she loves it. My brother loved it growing up and wanted me to watch it. I never did. And my wife loved it and finally watched it. And you said you haven't watched it, correct?
What's that, sorry? The Last Airbender?
The Last Airbender, the cartoon series. You haven't? You never watched it all, right?
Never seen it.
I was really impressed by it. The final, the way that the show ends, the finale, it's like an hour and a half long finale. It was very well done. It was good payoff, and I can honestly say I'm a fan of the series now. So it was really fun watching that with my wife. And then next, now that we watched one of her things, and I have never watched this before, but I've always heard of just how important it was to anime and how instrumental it was and how many people take influence from it. We are going to start watching soon. And I don't know if there's a friend, Steve from a different podcast. I don't know if he listens to this or not, but if he does, I'm sure when I say this, he'll like yell out like, yes. But I'm looking into starting hopefully tonight. I want to make sure I say it right, because if I say it too quick, I always get it wrong.
Oh God.
Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yep, that's how you say
start
it.
That. Yeah. Yep.
That's
I got it right. If I say it quick, it comes out like Neon Vagel Spaghetti. It comes out like really wrong.
Yeah, people say Evangelion, they pronounce the G as J and stuff, so it's like,
Yeah, Evangeli. Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to start that tonight. It's on Netflix. I wanted to just go out and straight up buy the whole series, but I was like, nah, let's go ahead and let's just try it out. Make sure
you're becoming a full-on weeb.
I'm trying, dude. I'm like, I see the light of the weebs, and I'm like, take me in. Bring me in closer to you.
You never finished Edgerunners, though, did you? You never finished Edgerunners.
No, I plan to eventually. I just like, and this we'll talk more about this later, but like it's just so crude. But I do like it, but it was so crude. But I was just like, I started watching Edgerunners, and I see like a fat dude with a device that's jerking him off, and I'm like, okay, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
But so I want to try watching that and seeing if I can get into that. Because I mean, like between that and then we'll talk later when we get into the what we're playing section. But like I bought Stellar Blade, and I'm like, I'm going full in weeboo.
You going full lace
all the way, bro? Yeah, full lace. Yeah, full lace.
Full lace.
Lacegate. But yeah. So Joe, are you ready to get into some PlayStation news?
Yeah, let's go for it, dude.
Alrighty. This one's we can go over this pretty quick, but I was really happy to see this and really impressed by this. So I think it was about 2 months ago now. A Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered was released for like modern consoles, also on Switch. And it's basically the 3 original Tomb Raider games from back in the PS1 days. Just kind of as they released with some controller mod additions if you want to be able to have Lara Croft move easier. Because if you guys, anybody who's played Tomb Raider back in the PS1 days, she moves like a literal tank, like 2 steps forward and then you got to turn her shoulders and then 2 steps again. And but it also has this mode kind of like the Halo game Master Chief Collection has, where you can have new graphics and switch them on and off and play old graphics or new graphics. And I was excited about this because I love these games, and I've almost bought it like 4 times. The only reason I haven't is because I'm like, I got all these games already and I don't have time. And why buy it? Yeah, they've it's surprisingly exceeded all expectations. It's selling really well. It's also from Embracer, which we only usually know Embracer for taking L's, Embracer Group, but apparently this was a W. So it'd be cool if we could get the other 2 PlayStation 1 Tomb Raider games, which was, I believe that was The Last Revelation and Chronicles. There's also, then there's like the PS2 ones, just like Angel of Darkness, which I don't think people really like that one. But it'd be cool to see more of this, and I am going to buy this. I don't know when. It's $30, but it's often gone on sale for $25, $22. But I just thought it was cool to shout this out. I whenever I see like a remastered or like an old game compilation like this, it happens so often nowadays that I'm usually kind of pessimistic, and I'm like, that probably won't sell as well as they hope. But it seems like it did here, and this bodes well for the new Tomb Raider game that's being published by Amazon. I believe it's the next AAA Tomb Raider game. We don't know anything about it really. We saw like a little bit of a redesign of Laura, but Tomb Raider, there was a point in like the mid to late 90s where Tomb Raider was about the biggest or close to the biggest name in gaming. So it still has
the new hot shit.
Yeah, it still has staying power. Any thoughts on this, Joe? Do you plan to buy this?
I do eventually, like you said, but again, I'm too, like, the problem with me is like I'm too thorough with the games I have. Like I need to learn to stop running for platinum trophies and stuff and like getting 100%ers, because like my lifestyle just doesn't cater for it. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I really like doing it. Like it gives me like a massive sense of appreciation for the games I do thoroughly play through to that level. But then that makes me miss out on, you know, these games like that are potentially just pick up, complete in 8 to 10 hours and move on, depending on obviously the time.
I like that you're that way because it's different than me. And I have like the opposite problem is I'm the kind of guy who's just like play the game straight through, get it done, move on. But my problem is I want to be invested in so many franchises and have such a knowledge of so many that I get too backlogged. Like even just like earlier today or yesterday, I was like, oh yeah, Devil May Cry series. I never got into that. Like, oh yeah, the collection's like $25 on sale. It's like, well, I can't add 4 Devil May Cry games to my backlog, plus the 5th one that y'all want to buy, plus the DMC reboot one they did. Like when I become invested in a series, then it's like I get this huge laundry list of things to catch up on. I'm still trying to catch up on like Final Fantasy games. I became a Final Fantasy fan in 2020. I still have like over half a dozen of those I want to play. And here we are in 2024. So yeah, it's just hard.
Bro, when I was unemployed, like the amount of franchise playthrough, good times.
Yeah, those were the days.
Those were the days. Like straight up, they were the only times I could do franchise or series playthroughs all the way through, and they were great. Like I literally played Metal Gear. I mean, I played Metal Gear like franchise wise before that, but I played the entirety of Metal Gear within like 2 months or something. And I wasn't even like pushing to get it done or anything.
Metal Gear, that's another series, dude.
Yeah, there
like,
you go.
And you know, just last week I was like, oh, Joe, I'm thinking about, you know, buying the collection. It's $48 on sale. I wish it was cheaper. I wish I could just buy the regular game or the first game cheaper than $20. Well, then today, dude, it's on sale now. Just Metal Gear Solid 1 is $15.99. And I was like, oh man, I could almost pick that up. But it's like, right now I have, and we'll get to this in the games when we're talking about what we're playing, but I have Stellar Blade, Ghost of Tsushima, and Hellblade 2 on the Xbox side. And I'm like, well, that game, you know, that game doesn't take long, but like Ghost of Tsushima and Stellar Blade, Ghost of Tsushima is like probably 80 hours if I do a lot, and the DLC. Stellar Blade maybe 20 some. Like, bro, I can't keep adding shit. It's crazy. Where's Tomb Raider gonna fit in that? That's all 3 games. And Tomb Raider is hard. I've gotten really far in the first Tomb Raider, but that was it. I never beat any of them. So.
I've beat all 3 of them. I played.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Back in the
Isn't
day.
the final boss like on the first game super hard? That's what I've always heard.
Yeah, fucking ridiculously hard. But pretty much everything in Tomb Raiders are hard, like the platforming, the combat, the navigation.
Growing up, my aunt was the biggest Tomb Raider fan in the world, and she had all the games, and she had beaten all of them except the final boss of the first game. She was just at the final boss. So I don't know much about it, but like I'm impressed that you beat it. I don't know why is it so hard because of the damage that the boss does, or because of how you have to move, or all of it?
It's literally just the combination of every single mechanic in the game up until that point.
Yeah,
like it's just ridiculously hard. But I mean, that's understanding a lot of the bosses or just enemies in general in that game. I mean, like the last time I played Tomb Raider 1 and 3 were like I was in single digit age. So
and you beat it at that age.
Yeah,
which is that's the thing that always blows my mind. We talk about like the games we beat as kids.
Yeah,
like when we're kids, or the games that kids are beating, and then it's like, why am I 25 years older now and I feel like I can't beat it?
Dude, I honestly feel like I'm good as a gamer now, but I actually do think I've regressed. Like, I think single-digit Joe in age is better than double-digit 25-year-old. Like, straight up.
I remember beating Tarzan, the video game for PlayStation 1, as a 7-year-old.
I don't know if I played that. I played a Tarzan game, but I don't know if it was on the PS2 or not.
Could have been. There was a PS2 one, but the one I played was PS1, and my mom was so impressed that I beat it as a 7-year-old, because I beat it within like less than a week.
Yeah.
But like I've went back and like played it a bit, and like you get hit a couple times, you die, and then like the final boss of the game is Clayton. If you guys have seen the Disney movie, Clayton the hunter, and he like shoots stuff out at you, and he shoots stuff like middle, top, and bottom, and you have to like dodge. Like when he shoots low, you got to jump. When he shoots high, you got to duck, and then like stay out of the middle, and you got to keep dodging him while getting closer to him, and then attack him, and then he sends you back to the front. You got to keep doing it again. You get hit too many times, you die, and you got to restart from the beginning of the level where you're not even fighting him yet. And I'm like, like there's so much.
Dude, there's something about like being a child. It's like same with learning languages. Like there's neural pathways that are being developed. Neural pathways.
Yeah.
It's like
you're training it.
I don't know what's going on, but like
you're on adrenaline.
Bring that back when you hit 20s and 30s.
Let me have that again. Now I just get sagging.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
but in terms of the, I mean, it's great news. I'm glad they've like got like obviously money from it. They've got as far as I'm aware, they've got money before taxes as well. Like this is a funds based before taxes, so the return on investment is great.
Yeah, but, this all comes from their literal like quarterly report.
Quarterly reports.
I was gonna pull it up, but it's like 64 pages, and I'm like, we got the point.
We ain't got time for that. But yeah, the fact that it's also getting a physical release is pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
That's badass, because I mean that might inspire me to pick it up. I said I'll pick this game up last time, but but. Yeah, this is great. I'm going to pick it up one day, but for now, I'm just going to let it sit, marinate a little bit. I'll pick it up one day and be like, Brian, I've been playing Tomb Raider, and I suck.
Yeah, do you know which one's your favorite of the three? Do you have any idea?
It's 2. It's definitely 2. Yeah.
I think 2's the best one, but one's the one I have the most nostalgia for, like in the beginning, like you're in the cavern with the wolves and stuff snowy. Also, did you even play the original Tomb Raider if you didn't lock the butler in the freezer?
Yeah.
Dude, that's one of those things that's so crazy to me. Like, okay, so like if anyone is around our age,
Winston, wasn't it? Winston is his name?
Winston, yeah. If anyone is around our age or older, you'll know that back when in the 90s, memes were not a thing, right? Like memes did not exist. But what is so interesting about memes is that memes did exist,
but
in our brains.
It was like word of mouth and culture.
Yeah, it was like in the 90s, it could be like, oh, I watched like Friends, and then like, there's some quote that Chandler made on Friends, and then my dad passes me the lettuce at the table, and I'm like, and I do like a Chandler thing from Friends, and it's like a meme, right? Like, but then once we got the internet, memes became this thing that like had some tangibility, and it became like, oh, we all have been doing this for a long time, but none of us knew it, and that's what locking the dude in the freezer was like, because I thought me and my brother are the only ones dumb enough to waste our time in this game trying to lure the freaking butler into the freezer and then lock him in there. And then this comes out, and you see all over Twitter, all over the internet, everyone's like, oh yeah, it's time for me to lock him in the freezer again. I'm like, bro, we weren't the only ones. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
It's wild that is like, it's kind of like, if you go on Instagram, there's reels where like, people have the same experiences for whatever reason.
We all do, yeah. It's crazy.
And I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it would be just something core, like even Americans to British people. And like I'll be like, yeah, that's how it happened. But an American, like all the way in like, I don't know, New York or something, will be like, yeah, I know that too. Like we're all the same person.
Dude,
it's like, are we
so
programmed?
funny because it's so funny because I remember being creeped out by the butler as a kid because Laura Croft moves way faster than him.
Yep.
But he was the AI for him was that he would just move to wherever you were on the map. So you could run all the way across her mansion at full speed.
Yep.
And if you waited long enough, he would turn that corner and enter the room.
Yeah.
And I remember being creeped out by it. So what we would do is we go to that freezer and we'd be looking out the freezer towards the doorway to the kitchen, just waiting for him to come. And then you could see, oh, there he is. Here he comes. And he's slowly walking towards you with the dinner tray. And then once he gets in the freezer, I'd try to get him as far in there as I could. And we'd run out and try to hit the button and lock him in there. And we're like, me and my brother were like, like, and then he gets caught. And then we're left like, yeah. And then we could go run around all over the place without him chasing us. And it is hilarious, dude. Memories.
Yeah. It's a great franchise. And it's
those
weird
games are
because, like,
classics.
those are classics.
PS1's identity.
Yeah, 100%. Like a mascot for that platform at the time, in many ways, and it's kind of weird that like I mean, I understand from like a modern sense, like how do you make old Tomb Raider like new Tomb Raider, but the fact that they went Uncharted style with it was a bit weird, you know. Like for me personally, it was like, well, I get it from a design standpoint.
Because it's popular,
most popular, and it works, and it literally translates over perfectly. But at the same time, you lose a lot of what like makes the old Tomb Raider so great.
Yeah, it's like I wonder, like obviously, if they made a modern day Tomb Raider that was trying to mimic the originals, what if they tried to do that? Obviously, they wouldn't have tank controls. That would be gone.
Yeah, that'd be changed.
But would they be able to properly replicate the like, take 3 steps forward and then slide over and then do a backflip and then bounce off the wall and then grab this ledge and then edge crawl over and like it was very like specific movement based and like. If they made it exactly like that today, would it not appeal to enough gamers to justify the cost of development? Because people just get frustrated and they're like, oh, I don't want to play this. You know, I want to play Uncharted where I just shoot people and climb walls, you know?
And it can even be more basic than that, like in terms of like just the way your designs are in terms of that traditional style platforming. Like I think of like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff, and then like going to Yooka-Laylee, that game that was like a spiritual successor to that game because it was like the same devs or whatever, or similar devs. It's like the Yooka-Laylee game was pretty fucking good, but like I just think that design is of such yesteryear that potentially like
it's hard to bring it back. It's almost like it won't allow itself to happen. Almost.
Yes, exactly. So
it's strange.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pick it up. It's great to see that it's got, you know, profitable for Embracer, even though we don't like Embracer. But hopefully we see like more remasters, more collections from Aspire. I mean, this is weird, right? Like you have Aspire who like constantly take L's, but also have like dubs like this at the same time.
I know. You would think that they're both the greatest port people and the worst.
I mean, like you have the KOTOR stuff where they didn't like.
They lied.
They follow through on their promises.
Own up to their promise.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Moving on to the next story. I thought this would just be kind of interesting since Joe is such a big Kojima fan. By the way, I think it's so cool. This is, you know, Joe and I are having artwork worked on for the podcast that. It might already be up by the time you're listening to this. If who knows when you're listening to this, but it's a Metal Gear Solid 2 inspired artwork.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, Joe is this huge fan of Metal Gear Solid, and I have never played it. And we're running this PlayStation podcast, so my face is going to be front and center on this artwork inspired, and then like it'll be fun to get my opinions because I'm gonna play those. You know I'm going to. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome. But anyways. This article, Mad Max director George Miller would like Hideo Kojima to make a video game adaptation. Speaking to Gaming Bible on the red carpet for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, the new Mad Max movie coming out, which I have tickets to and I'm going to see tomorrow. I'll be there in the theater to see it tomorrow at this exact time, 24 hours.
Oh, nice. Enjoy, dude.
So I'm super looking forward to that, yeah. Miller named Kojima as the ideal candidate to take on a video game adaptation of the film series, but admitted that he would never ask the legendary games designer to take on such a project because he has so much fantastic stuff in his own head. George Miller also referenced the Mad Max video game that came out in 2015, saying he thinks that they could level up on it if they were to make another. He says, quote, "It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be." Miller candidly admitted before adding, "I'm one of those people that I'd rather not do something unless you can do it at the highest level." So I mentioned this for a couple reasons. 1, because Joe loves Kojima. 2, because Mad Max comes out tomorrow in the movie theater. 3, because George Miller is in Death Stranding 2.
He is?
Because he's friends with Kojima. And then 4, because the Mad Max video game that came out in 2015, it's one of those games where it wasn't that big, it wasn't that popular. Pretty much everyone can see the obvious criticisms of the game. It's maybe not the most compelling narratively, and there's a lot of open space, as you can imagine in a Mad Max game, where there's not a lot to do. But Mad Max from 2015 is a game that I routinely see brought up by both my friends and on the industry, like in publications and podcasts, of like, man, that was actually a good game. Like, I actually appreciated that. It didn't get enough credit it deserves. So what do you have to say? Over to you, Joe, about all of this.
Yeah, I mean, like, I will say this. I played Mad Max back when I used to play on the Xbox One.
I bought it on the one also.
Yeah. And it was by Avalanche, right? I think I remember correctly.
Yep.
I thought it was awesome. Like, honestly, I give that game like a 9 out of 10.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I think it was like a 7 game mostly for people.
I don't agree. Like, it's weird. Yeah. It came out in 2015, and it came out around the time, as far as I'm aware, of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
Same day. That's part of the problem.
There you go. And
the same day.
It got bad sales, I think, because of it. Like, it had poor sales.
Yeah. It was also like 4 or 5 months removed from the movie that had just come out. Yes. So it wasn't hot and fresh. I mean, it was fresh the same year, but not as fresh.
Yeah, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I actually think, like, of those two games, like, the better game was Mad Max that year.
That's crazy, but I think a lot of people probably agree with you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I do.
Obviously, production value wise, it's not it's not Mad Max.
It's such a fun game, and it's basically like post-apocalypse, like Pimp My Ride. It is so fucking dope.
I played it. It didn't capture me. Yeah, but you know, I didn't give it a fair shot either.
I'm like the more I game and play these like open world, empty, vast spaces, the more I love that shit. Like, it's weird. I love open worlds that like have purposeful, barren. Nothing.
That's the key, right? Is if it's purposeful. Yeah.
It has to be purposeful. But that it's weird because like he didn't think it, like George Miller, who's like obviously the creator of Mad Max and stuff and the director and stuff like that. He's very much an auteur, just like Hideo Kojima is, and they have like a very strong bond. I mean, the fact that like Hideo Kojima's at the premiere for Mad Max is odd. But like he's literally just been invited because he's friends, so like totally, like I get it.
Dude, like Hideo Kojima just having straight up George Miller and Guillermo del Toro in his games, Norman Reedus,
Matt
Jeff
Nicholson, Jeff Keighley. I love it, dude, because it's like
awesome. Dude, I am so hyped to play through the Metal Gear series, and I'm just like, when am I going to get time? When am I going to get time for all this, Joe? Like, I want to play so many games, and I don't. And it's like, why? I have a wife and a child and a full-time job, and I'm doing 2 podcasts, and I want to play more games. What's wrong with me?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you, dude.
I don't, because you're in the same boat. I mean, you're not in the same boat with all those same things, but like you have a lot of things occupying your time, and you're doing stuff like this podcast.
Yeah,
you know,
but yeah, it's dope to see. I mean, the fact that like George Miller references that it didn't hit right, that game, for me, I get it. Like, I think he looked at it from a narrative standpoint and was like, this isn't kind of what I would like from a Mad Max narrative experience. It's weird because I disagree with him on a gameplay front, and I actually kind of thematically and thematically in terms of like how that story is presented and done in the game, I actually think it's actually quite in line with what Mad Max is. It's insanely like over the top and stuff. Like,
well, tell me if you'd agree with this, because here's what I think it is. I think that Mad Max the game is to the gaming industry is not what Mad Max Fury Road was to the film industry.
No,
because like I would say many, actually me, I have Mad Max Fury Road in my top 4 films of all time.
Wow.
And I think many would say, I'm not saying it's like universal by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a lot of people out there who would put Mad Max in their top 10, Fury Road specifically. Probably not that many people who'd put Mad Max the game in the top echelons of their favorite games of all time. I mean, they're out there too, I'm sure, but they're not really equivalent to their mediums.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's weird that like, obviously, I mean, it's not weird, like you said, you've just explained it quite well in that regard. Like, it's not kind of a Oscar bait, Last of Us style game within, a game that would be like reflective of what the movies would be in many ways. But I think that I think it would be cool.
You want a
Kojima
like, Mad Max?
That's what I was about to say. I think it would be cool, but I also think George Miller like is bang on with what he says in terms of like that. that dude already has so much shit in his brain.
Dude,
and like
Kojima would be 90 when the Mad Max game was done.
Yeah. And the thing with it is like he's already at a point like where he's doing so much. I mean, he has OD, he
Death
has
Stranding 2,
Death Stranding 2, Fizzin, yeah. So like he's got his fingers, and the movie. So like he's going off in many ways, and I wouldn't want.
He's
to
living
see
his best life though. Konami's over there in the corner with their arms crossed, like he's not allowed to have that much fun.
Yeah, I can't believe Konami, dude. Like, I mean, this Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta remake thingamabob.
Like, is it fair to say when Kojima left Konami that Konami lost at least 50%, if not more, of what they were?
Yeah, I would say at that point they lost even more than that in many ways, because
that's what I'm saying. At least 50, at least half of what they were.
Like you're probably looking at like 80 to 90% at that point, because like Castlevania was already kind of on its way out at that point. Like if already out the door, with the poor 7th generation titles that they had and stuff, and lack of 8th generation titles. So I don't know. I'm obviously Silent Hill's just done in many ways, or was done. So
what about the remake by Bloober Team? It's gonna bring it all back.
No, thank you, brother.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, move on to the next article here. Neil Druckmann says new Naughty Dog title could redefine mainstream perceptions of gaming. This comes from Video Games Chronicle. The studio's parent company, Sony, used its corporate strategy meeting on Thursday to present its creative entertainment vision, which it describes as its long-term vision for where it wants to be in 10 years with an eye towards future technology advances. In an interview published to coincide with today's event, Druckmann was asked to share details about a personal vision or dream project he wants to see realized. Quote, he says, "I've been lucky to work on several dream projects and am currently excited about a new one, which is perhaps the most thrilling yet. There's growing appreciation for gaming that transcends all age groups, unlike when I was growing up. This shift is highlighted by our venture into television with The Last of Us, which I hoped would bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers." So, I mean, if you're aware of Neil Druckmann and the work he's done with Last of Us 2, Uncharted 4, these are huge games, successful games, very narrative-driven, and obviously that's now branched over into with him directly, his work with HBO on The Last of Us show, which was a huge hit, both critically and by fans and viewership. And then, of course, there's the Uncharted movie, which, even though it didn't do nearly as well, it was still a success, and it didn't have Druckmann's involvement. But so yeah, he's really excited for this next game he's working on, and saying that it could redefine mainstream perceptions of gaming. On one hand, that's one of those claims in the gaming industry where I'm like, kind of roll my eyes and I'm like, oh, I mean, that's something that you all say all the time. It's just like Microsoft saying like, our next console is going to be the strongest, most powerful console.
Gaming.
Like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. But to kind of bring it down to an earthly level, I mean, if they're able to take what they've done with like The Last of Us 1 and 2 and the show, and the next game elevates what games can be from a narrative standpoint again, and offers that olive branch to over to like television and film even more.
Yes.
Then yeah, I can see this for sure. I love The Last of Us 1 and 2.
Yep.
Joe loves the first one. Joe's a bigger fan of Last of Us than I am. But even I, like, when Last of Us 1 released in 2013, what was its direct competitor quality-wise for, like, narrative and storytelling? Like,
I think, honestly, like, The Last of Us, when it released, The Last of Us was the point, right? I think, when... I don't think this is even hyperbolic to say. I think The Last of Us, when that first came out, was like the point when everyone outside of the gaming industry was just like, "Whoa, what is that?"
Yeah, like I didn't know that could be done. Like
people knew Halo. Like you look at like the old like
they knew
news
lots of
pundits
games
and stuff, and like the news organizations like talking about like, oh, Halo 2's release, Halo 3's release.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Kimmel used to like he had a bit on it where it was like a bunch of nerds come out their basement to celebrate the launch, and it's like, yeah, like haha, funny. And like you can laugh about that because like Halo is obviously like that dude bro shooter and stuff, and it wasn't at that point yet. But I feel like The Last of Us, like, obviously it didn't change everyone's mind. Obviously there's always going to be people that are a bit like, like naysayers of that stuff. But I think The Last of Us was the point where it was like, oh shit, like this is something that can like make you cry. This is something that can like make you like recline your seat.
This goes toe to toe with like an HBO show, which it eventually became.
100%. Yeah. So. And now you're starting to get like all that into your main, like some of the best like TV shows now, some of the best content.
Isn't it crazy how much that changed the industry? Because you look at what Sony's first party became, like it's become a running gag to people who hate on the brand. Is like, oh, every Sony first party is a third person movie.
Yeah,
I wish I could play this game. I just watch it, which is such a over exaggeration of it. But like, and to the point that's become so big to the point now where what is it that everyone's always saying Microsoft needs? It's that they need just at least one of these.
Yes.
Sony's managed to curate, I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know, roughly 5 of these between Last of Us, God of War, Horizon, things like that, Ghost of Tsushima. And everyone's just looking at Microsoft like, where's yours? Where's yours? And like, we're now 11 years past Last of Us Part 1.
Got Hellblade 2.
And I mean, there's something to be said about that. I mean, I think Hellblade Part 1, which was wasn't an exclusive. It was on PlayStation 4 first. I think even it had to got some inspiration from Last of Us with that very heavy story narrative driven experience from third person. So yeah, I think that as much as this does read like a quote that's like makes me roll my eyes, I'm like, it's coming from Naughty Dog, it's coming from Neil Druckmann. Like they have the cred to back it up.
Yeah, I mean, Neil Druckmann he started as a programmer on Jak 3, did Jak X Racing, if that was the correct title.
I love that because I love
3.
Jak.
Yeah, Jak's amazing. And then obviously he did Uncharted and stuff like that, Uncharted 4. Became more of a leader role in that, creative director in many ways. To me, he's as auteur as you get. Like I said, I've said this on the previous one of the previous episodes of Critical Frames, is I don't necessarily agree with what he did with The Last of Us Part 2. I think he became too self-indulgent within the very macabre, depressive, nihilistic, down and out way of telling story. But like, I will not ever like stand here and not give that guy his flowers, because he is like truly a very, very artistically driven, creative and talented, skillful motherfucker. He is. Like, if he's saying this stuff, like, could redefine mainstream perceptions of gaming, like, I mean, like, I'd love to see that, like, come to fruition. It's hard to, like, I don't know if we've, like, peaked in that regard in terms of what games can show to, like, outside audiences at this point, because in many ways, like, The Last of Us Part 2, if that isn't it in terms of, like, the motion capture and the accessibility control, like feature sets, and the attention to detail, and just the emotion, the music, the writing. I mean, even this goes for like God of War. This goes for, like the Death Stranding, stuff like that. Like, if those games aren't already, trying to redefine like mainstream perceptions of gaming, I don't know what more we can do, because I think at this point,
it's tough.
I genuinely think this at this point, it's kind of on the person that like doesn't understand it. Like for instance, my dad, like prime example, like I love him to death, but that like he doesn't understand the idea of like these narrative stories. I think he gets it like from my perspective, but like he could never like get into a game, a 30-hour game, a 20-hour game, or even a 10-hour game, whatever, like a Hellblade 2, like he does potentially a movie, just because he's obviously of an older generation, like born in 72, so like he's at that point where he's kind of like, well, like this, like I just see games as like just shooting galleries or playing FIFA, or well, not FIFA anymore. It's EA.
Well, like maybe the
idea
of him sitting down and playing 2 or 3 hours of a game and then saving it and quitting and then not being able to see more of the story until he comes back and plays 2 or 3 more hours and then does that again and again until it's over. That it doesn't line up with him probably.
Yeah, and like he'll always tell me, like I've given him, like he plays PlayStation 3 at the moment, and he'll play like Call of Duty or something, right? Like, and he's I mean, again, he's of that older generation, and when he plays it, he's kind of like, it's just too fast for me. Like I can't do it. Like there's too much people shooting at me.
My dad has to take Dramamine to you know what that is?
No, I don't know.
It's like a supplement to make you not feel like dizzy or off.
Ah, yeah, okay, yeah.
Because if he plays any game, he just gets like motion sickness.
My dad's kind of similar to that. Like if he plays games, he's like, if he watches me play games, because I play games very quickly. Obviously, I'm very like fluid with it and stuff. He's like, I can't watch you play this. Like he'll just sit there on his phone because he can't look at the screen because he's like, oh,
yeah.
you know,
where am I?
So yeah, like he just it's that generation, dude. Like again, love him to death, obviously, but like they don't get it, and that's fine. So
yeah, absolutely. This next one's kind of funny. I thought we'd just express our thoughts on this. Sony's futuristic controller concept brings back memories of the PS3 Boomerang. How far will imagination carry us? This video asks, showing an artist's animated character coming to life before our eyes. But the controller is the video's most eye-grabbing detail, as we see it being used to pilot a character through space. The pad features a holographic screen hovering above the controller itself, and would easily look at home on the Starship Enterprise. Although many online have made unfavorable comparisons to the infamous PS3 Boomerang concept, you can check it out for yourself in the video below. So, for those of you that either don't know at all or don't remember, back when like the PS3 was up and coming, and I remember getting my copy of Game Informer, and it showed off what the controller for the PS3 would be, and the early like prototype idea for what the PS3 controller would be is it literally it looked like a literal kind of crescent moon shaped boomerang, like you would just throw and it would come back to you, but it had the PlayStation buttons and thumbsticks on it that you know. And that never made it to retail. They ended up going with the DualShock 3, which was basically just the DualShock 2 without rumble. So it was a very silly looking concept. Well, in this new, you guys can go at home, go look this up on video or just pictures. But in this kind of little, I don't know if it was like a conference, or I can't remember what it was. We addressed it in the previous article, in the entertainment vision showcase. They show off this controller, which what it basically looks like is picture the grips of the DualSense, so just the right and left side of the DualSense, kind of like on a PlayStation Portal. You know how we talk about how the Portal looks like a Kindle strapped to, with the PlayStation controller side strapped to a Kindle.
Yep.
It's basically those two sides of the PlayStation controller with like a ring light that you would buy for like streaming in the center. And then it's a hollowed out ring light, and the ring light is shooting a holographic screen up in front of your face, and you're playing on it.
Yep.
So it's basically just like, and then even the controller that you're holding itself, the buttons are touch as well. They're not actual buttons.
Horrible. So
it's this crazy looking controller, and it's neat from a futuristic perspective, but it looks like something I would actually not want to play any games on. So
yeah,
what do you think, Joe?
It looks stupid. Obviously, to me, like this is what's the point in this trailer?
Like, no, it looks dumb.
This just looks like Sony's smelling their own farts in many ways, and like just trying to impress like investors for the future. Like, why? Like
that controller probably will let you smell farts, honestly.
As long as it's not Jim Ryan's. But yeah, like no, not like if you're gonna have a controller. One, I want buttons. Okay, I want that tactile feel.
Always buttons. Like, why do we want to get rid of buttons,
dude?
Why is the future no buttons? Come on,
bro. Like the best thing about the DualSense is how tactile it is to me. You've got your touchpad, you've got your R1, R2 adaptive triggers. You got your nice joysticks.
I didn't know Sony was capable of such a good controller. I love the DualShock 4, but the DualSense kills it.
What a glow up, right? Especially from the DualShock 3. I mean, come on. So like. Yeah, don't give me like weird sort of pretend hologram button crap that I have to like put on a headset for AR technology. I mean, we're already at that point. I said this to Brian when he told me about this article earlier, and he pulled it up. We're already at the point where people are going into like restaurants and stuff, and they have like their Facebook thing on, their Meta thing on, or whatever.
Right.
And they're like knocking over bottles because they forget they're in real life and stuff, and it's just like, bro, like. Again, like I've just been talking about like the generational divide between my dad and me and stuff in gaming. Like, I think there's a limit in many ways. Like, I feel like we should slow down at some points, and I feel like this is potentially it. I'm all for innovation, but like, and this is another thing. If they're gonna do this shit, like, how much is this gonna cost? Because like they already charged a ridiculous amount for PSVR 2, and that was a sub-platform that would probably be no like less or no more expensive than this, no less expensive than this. I don't know, around this same price point. Like
it'll be $1,000 for a PS7, and it's because it comes with that controller.
That controller, it's like with a ring light to light up your face. Yeah, no, I don't know. Weird. Strange. I think it's PlayStation just flexing themselves because they know that they're in the lead and stuff, and it's like, oh, we're the future of gaming, and it's like this means nothing. This weird.
Yeah, it's just very, like you said, them sniffing their own stuff pretty much. Moving on, this comes from, we used them on the last episode, Bibil Kuhn on Twitter. Expected to be shown at January's State of Play, and after months of play testing, here is something new about the second announcement of Concord from Firewalk Studios. So I wanted to mention this because I have a friend who works at Firewalk Studios. Concord is one of the games that was announced as a part of that slew of live service titles last year at PlayStation's event. And it says here, announced during the 2023 PlayStation Showcase, Concord is the next PlayStation exclusive that will arrive in 2024. This multiplayer FPS game benefited from a teasing trailer with a brief presentation on the PlayStation blog. The title will be released on PS5 and PC. A few months ago, we revealed the upcoming arrival of a new announcement for the Concord game. The ad was even ready to be presented during State of Play, which took place last January. However, this announcement did not take place for reasons we do not know yet, although we believe it was because of some problems encountered on the PC version. Despite recent rumors surrounding the arrival of a possible State of Play or a PlayStation Showcase during the month of May, we have not yet been able to confirm the holding of such events. So yeah, I mentioned on the last episode, it's heavily rumored to the point where I would say it's a fact that there is going to be a State of Play or a PlayStation Showcase this month.
Yep.
I thought it would be this week. It's now Thursday. It could be going on tomorrow or early next week. We'll definitely be here to talk about it after it. But Concord is this live service multiplayer FPS game. The original trailer we saw for it just kind of showed like the inside of a spaceship. It showed like a highly detailed cheeseburger. We really don't know much about it yet. Here later in the article, it says this announcement is expected to introduce at least some of the playable characters in the game with a glimpse of the gameplay. Let's also remember that we declared that the game was inspired by the universe of Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy following the first elements we had possession of. So yeah, this game is confirmed to release this year. It is live service. It will be day and date PS5 and PC. The problem is we don't know enough about the game to really make any judgments about it.
Nor the studio as well, because like they're a relatively new studio. I mean, they were like founded or established at least as a subsidiary of probably Monsters in 2018 to 2021, and then they were obviously brought into partnership with PlayStation and acquired. We have like, it's not like when we were talking on the last episode about like, not to interrupt you too long here, Brian, but like to talk about like what's Santa Monica's next game after God of War. You know, if it's not God of War, it's like we can kind of speculate in many ways with that. But with this, it's kind of like, don't know.
Yeah.
Hamburger, cheeseburger, nice graphics, cool. Yeah, carry on, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do know that it's a multiplayer FPS. We know it's live service, but we haven't seen it. So I guess for me, if I want to take this on the positive angle, because I think the first thing that most people, including myself, will say when it's like, here comes another live service game shooter that we don't know about, it's like, okay, well, we have a million of those.
Yep.
Why should we be excited about this? I mean, we don't know anything about this game yet. So my question for you, Joe, then is, we've seen the staggering popularity of Helldivers 2 on PlayStation and PC. This will be like the next kind of big second initiative from Sony. We've heard how much Helldivers 2 has been helped by the fact that it did launch day and date on PC as well. Like, such a large part of the audience and success of Helldivers 2 is the PC platform. So my question to you is, let's say for a fact Concord is a good game.
Yep.
Like, it launches fine. It's actually a good game. It's not bad at all.
Yep.
Do you see there being the room for this to be another huge Helldivers 2-like success? Could it be half that? Is there not room for that at all? If it's good, what do you think this does for, like, how much room is there on the PlayStation? We know that they at one point had like 12 lined up.
Yep.
And like, how much room is there on the PlayStation for these successful live service games, especially amidst all of the other live service games that aren't from PlayStation, like Fortnite and Apex and Roblox and Minecraft? This is a little bit different. It's first person shooter. It looks like it might be, I don't know if it's hero based, but playable characters. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, the positive side of me would say yes. I think there's definitely a massive inclination to want more sci-fi first-person shooters, especially because like Destiny 2's kind of taken a backseat in that shooter scene after the acquisition and stuff, and being gutted. But the negative side of me would say, not no. I don't think I'm that down an out on it because that would be unfair of me. But I think it would potentially be not concerning, but I mean, there's a lot of sci-fi right now when it comes to like that live service in the PlayStation ecosystem, and I mean, Helldivers is like very obviously PvE orientated. So this potentially being, do we even know if it's PvP? I assume it is.
I guess we don't. I feel like I've heard that, but I mean, even here it just says multiplayer FPS game.
Yeah. So like, if this is full on PvP, I think this could like really strike a chord with PlayStation gamers because this maybe could be like Sony's like new Killzone in many ways, potentially.
That's an interesting angle you take because the fact that it's multiplayer live service and there's nothing here of story or campaign.
Yeah.
I would have thought maybe the best way to success would be for this to be like Helldivers, where it's like players versus like PvE, and there's like a narrative around like taking out. You know, I thought maybe Helldivers would be the good direction, but you're saying maybe it could be more successful by fitting in a PvP slot that Sony doesn't have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're missing out on. And now, like, you're at that point, and I've said this in the past, but like when Halo Infinite was coming out, I was like, dude, like, if Xbox get this going and they get like hundreds of thousands of people, like kind of like how Helldivers has done now, like for PlayStation, but like if they did that in 2021 when Halo
2021,
yeah. If that happened for Xbox, it's like Sony could have been shitting bricks at that point because you've got like something that Sony doesn't have. And like that's the point when like Sony starts to look at Xbox and is like, oh shit, like we could do that from a live service angle. So, but now the Halo Infinite has not paid off at all. You've kind of got
that game was free. Yeah. That game was free.
Yeah.
And it was Xbox and PC and it got nowhere near as popular as Helldivers. That's insane, bro.
So Concord Firewalk Studios, they have a chance here to enter a pocket that is quite like vacant right now, in my opinion. Like, I mean, you have obviously like your Call of Duties and stuff, obviously, but I think that like from a first party stance that isn't Call of Duty, because Call of Duty is always going to sell. Like, you're never going to beat that in many ways. Like, you got to do something phenomenal that's never been seen in the industry before to overtake them at this point. But I think in its own little pocket, just like Helldivers in many ways, I mean, I say it's little, but it's actually very large. I think that Firewalk have a really good chance of like making a foundational PC. Obviously, it's coming to PC as well, so like PC sells a shit ton of copies when it comes to like first-person shooters and stuff. I mean, it is the first-person shooter scene in many ways. If you're not talking about Call of Duty. But yeah, they're in a good position. I'm excited to see what it is. I mean, they got approximately 150 employees as of 2023, so that's a good amount of people for a AAA game. I mean, what was Halo Infinite's?
Is it AAA? Like, I actually don't know for sure. I was assuming it was AA.
Well, I don't know, but even if like I think my point still stands.
Because Helldivers is AA.
Yeah, 100%. But like, I think my point still stands. Like, even if it's AAA, it's still a good amount of people. I mean, ideally you want 300 people potentially, like roughly around there, 200 to 300. But I think. I mean, it's hard to tell anymore what team size can make what game because I mean, I think back in the day, I think like Elder Scrolls Oblivion was like 50 to 60 people. Yeah, it's
like
wild.
Like today. I mean, what's Starfield? 500,000? I have no idea what it is. But it's a lot.
Yeah. And then you got Rockstar, which total employees, not just developers, but total employees that worked on Red Dead Redemption 2. You got like, well, I guess you could consider them developers, but you got 2,000 people.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's wild. And then Santa Monica, 300. It's like
Yeah, who knows? I'm excited to see Concord. I do think we're gonna see it very soon.
I think art style wise, it looks gorgeous. Like I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. And like obviously,
it has character.
Yeah, it has a lot of character, and I think like obviously a lot of people joke about the cheeseburger or whatever, or the burger or whatever, but it's like, dude, like I think it's cool. I think it was an odd trailer to show that early on. In all honesty,
because it shows nothing of your game other than aesthetic.
Yeah, aesthetic, and I also think because it's a first-person shooter, having it about like a spaceship is a bit weird because that's like more talking about like exploration, kind of like Starfield did and stuff, and I don't think it's meant to be that at all. So, bring it on.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Agree. Like, it wasn't a bad first showing; it just wasn't a good one. It was like, what is this? Like, I think everyone just kind of went, "What was that?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, what was that? But I feel like that whole show was kind of that.
It wasn't the best showcase.
Yeah, it was a weird. That was the point when it was like, okay, well, PlayStation just got off this high. Xbox are kind of catching up, but then like PlayStation dropped the ball and do like some really weird live service. Like, I don't even know like the word to describe it. I don't even know the adjective I'd use, but it was just weird. It was like all over the place in many ways.
Everything was, it was backwards.
Yeah.
Moving over this one, I thought I would just hand it over to Joe and let him talk about it a little bit. Earlier in the year, actually, it was last year. Was it last year you played System Shock?
It was on release. When did it release?
I think it was last year. Yeah,
Time's flown so much, dude.
Man, time has flown. Yeah, it was like summer last year. So summer last year, Night Dive released their full remake of System Shock for PC, and they said it'd be coming to consoles eventually. System Shock just released a couple days ago on May 21st for $40 on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Joe's played through this. He really loves it. Joe, sell System Shock to the PlayStation audience. Why should they buy this for $40?
Yeah, this is the second time I've sold it to you. I mean, we was on with Josh on was it on the Sacred Icon podcast, or was it the Critical Sacred Games Daily? I don't know, but I was selling it anyway. Yeah. And even Josh, was excited to play it, and he's not really like an immersive sim fan. But yeah, so essentially System Shock released, I think, originally in, I think it was it 1996 or 1999? I don't know. I can't remember exactly. But...
Well, I think wasn't System Shock... Well, might be getting confused. I thought 2 was 98, but maybe it was 1.
It was actually 94. I'm completely wrong. So
2 was 98.
Yeah, 98. So it was released in 94, like classic, again, like shooter that went alongside, your Dooms and your Quakes and stuff, but it was much more PC centric. So the mechanical nature of System Shock was more based around like your inventory, managing your items, like interacting with the world with buttons and stuff, and very much kind of like Half-Life in many ways in that regard, where you feel a sense of deep connection with the world around you and like how to interact with everything and stuff like that. And it all like has a physics engine and stuff, much less to the extent of Half-Life 2, but still a physics engine. Essentially, the System Shock is a game where you are a hacker that is brought on or held at gunpoint, essentially, by a sort of cell organization that is instructed, again at gunpoint, not nicely, mind you, not paid, not ethically sourced, to shut down the system where a AI called Shodan is on, and essentially, like, once you do that, you don't shut her down. Sorry, you turn off her limitations. You turn off her sort of training wheels in many ways, and allow her to go rogue, to go completely free. And then you get knocked out essentially, and you wake up on this station. And when you wake up on this station, everything's gone to shit. Like you have no help really for the first like couple of hours of the game potentially, depending on how fast you play the game, obviously. And you are just like in this dark, derelict station. You don't know where you are, and you've got to kind of like get some health. You've got to get some weapons. You've got enemies around you, like mutants, like cyborgs and stuff. And you've got to like procure armaments and defend yourself as you go through this station, and you try and shut down and get rid of this cell organization and shut down Shodan, like put the restraints on Shodan once and for all, and save the station, essentially, save the world from Shodan. Because essentially what happens to Shodan, or Shodan is probably the way you should pronounce it, is she becomes like a god complex AI. She loses all sense of like I said, like restrictions, and she starts to look at everyone who opposes her, the human race, as a threat. It's the AI sort of fear. It's the traditional AI fear of like, are we pushing this too far? Like a Cyberdyne, like a Skynet from Terminator. And essentially what happens is like she is constantly at you as you go through this world. She's constantly changing based on what you do, how you play the game, what enemies you kill, what weapons you use. She spawns enemies around you. She calls you on your like telecommunication device and like berates you and calls you insect and stuff, and basically curb stomps you into the floor as best she can. And it's just this really cool like remake of this original 1994 classic that a lot of people, and I think this is really bang on, System Shock was the first-person shooter, in my opinion, that truly, like Doom and Quake and stuff, they gave, like, an Unreal Tournament, they gave Wolfenstein as well, they gave first-person shooters the foundation, and they gave the blueprint, and they nailed that, like, to an obscene degree. Doom is still one of the most pristine shooters ever made. But I think System Shock was the first that gave first-person shooters a narrative soul, or a soul in general, and you feel that as you go through. You feel like how like there's sort of environmental storytelling, there's audio logs everywhere, like the game is, like I said, incredibly dynamic, and this remake is honestly like the most perfect remake to a 90s video game that you could ever play. It's got the soul of it, it's got the style of it, it's got like a really cool way of doing the graphical fidelity where like everything looks really crisp like from a distance, but as you get closer things start to get pixelated and stuff, like bringing back that retro vibe. The weapon variety is amazing, the enemy variety is incredible, and it's this series, System Shock 2 with Ken Levine and stuff, being a part of that sequel to this, in 1998 was the series that inspired BioShock, one of the greatest games of all time, and series of all time. So yeah, System Shock, absolutely phenomenal game. I played it on PC in 2023 when it first came out. I was one of the few people, as Brian will tell you, that like championed this game and was absolutely blown away by it. And the fact that this is coming to PlayStation 4 and 5, the fact that it's cross-platform is great. The fact that they've been able to get it to run on that is awesome. Xbox One Series XS on May 21st at $40, so it's a slash price point. It's a AA price point. Incredible stuff. I would recommend everyone to pick this up. Diente in the Seiku Icon Discord has picked this up recently. He had trouble getting into it at the start because he was tired, he said, and he was kind of going into it like kind of a traditional shooter. But you kind of got to be slower. You gotta take your time with it. Loot everywhere. Kind of not approach everything so aggressively in combat. Like take your time with moving in and moving out of combat. Putting distance between you and the enemy. And Diente's kind of figured that like flow out, I think, on the second time, and he's starting to really enjoy it now as what it's meant to be. Yeah, it's a phenomenal game. It's got some awesome set pieces, awesome bosses. It's a phenomenal remake. Night Dive did an amazing job with this.
Yeah, dude, I love the visuals. Like the visuals just look like peak to me. What is the aesthetic of this game? Would you say it's cyberpunk or is it something different?
Yeah, I would say it's the closest like to cyberpunk as you can get. When you start, like the intro like flies through the city and stuff, and like you see like all the city where people live, and it's not as detailed as like a cyberpunk like 2077 city. You can't, like, it's all foggy and stuff, but it's like sets this really like Blade Runner-esque like noir vibe about it, and then obviously it chucks you on the station like pretty much immediately after. Yeah, it's just great stuff, dude. Like I recommend everyone to play it. Like,
this is the deepest you can go into the roots of what BioShock is right here. Like 100%. Obviously, like you said, Ken Levine didn't work on this one, but he worked on the follow-up, which was even more beloved with System Shock 2, and then BioShock was the spiritual successor. So it's on my list. I don't know when I'll get to it, but
dude, when I played this game, like I finished, I was like, this is like that strongest 9 out of 10. I
was gonna ask you, what do you give it? 9?
Like a 9. Like I would, as a remake, I'll probably give it like a 10. In all honesty, 'cause it's so faithful.
For a remake.
Yeah, it's honest. Like I can't sing this game's praises enough because it's quite easy to get into as well and flow through, and it's not too long. You can beat it in like, I don't know, I think I beat it in like 20 hours, something like that. And I went to everywhere. Like I really meticulously found everything. So if you just mainline it, you could probably beat it in like 10 to 15. I don't know, something like that.
Sweet. Yeah. Great. No, it's awesome. It's on the list. I definitely, from what I've seen and what I know of Night Dive and what you've said, I would definitely recommend it for sure.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, Joe, this one's kind of a big one here. This comes from gamesindustry.biz. IGN Entertainment acquires Eurogamer, Game Informer, VG247, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, and more. IGN Entertainment has acquired the Gamer Network family of digital brands for an undisclosed sum. As a result of the acquisition, some redundancies have been made across the UK-based organization. Gamer Network's publications are gamesindustry.biz, Eurogamer, including 6 local language editions, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, VG247, and Dicebreaker. The business also holds shares in Outside Xbox, Digital Foundry, and Hookshot, which operates Nintendo Life, Push Square, Pure Xbox, and Time Extension. IGN Entertainment is the division of Ziff Davis that includes IGN, Map Genie, How Long to Beat, and Humble Bundle. It has acquired the websites from PAX and New York Comic-Con organizer ReedPop, which initially bought the Gamer Network business in 2018. Not included in the sale are UK-based events EGX or MCM, or the digital brand Popverse, which remain with ReedPop. So where to go with this, Joe? So IGN is like, it's your most mainstream video game news outlet there is. Like if you are aware, if you're a person who is aware of video game publications at all, you'll know IGN. It's the biggest one. And, I don't want to get, not that I'm opposed to getting into it, but I don't want to get into the deep weeds of something crazy like Gamergate or something like that. But there's been a long, over 10 years now, controversy of games journalism. And to be fair, the whole Gamergate thing was not from this angle particularly, but there's been a lot of conversation over the last decade or so about like journalism and gaming and like what's right and what's fair. And like, was this review given this score because there were special favors given to the person who was giving the review? Was the person dating or involved romantically with the person? Lots of different things that influence the review scores and why things are being scored the way they are, why they're promoted. Was there an ad campaign? Was there money involved? Mm-hmm. And my thought, and maybe I'm off and maybe you'll have a completely different take, but my immediate thought for this news piece was just that it's a huge negative because IGN is acquiring all of these different publications, ones that many people like to engage with, like Eurogamer and Game Informer and stuff like that. And it's all going to be under one conglomerate now. And I don't know how they're going to handle these things, if they're going to try to keep them separate with their own separate identity, or if they're going to try to bring them together into one bigger thing. Obviously, there's tons of layoffs that are coming because of this, tons of people losing their jobs, which is super unfortunate. And I just don't know that it's a positive for the games industry journalism, where one company is going to have such a major influence across all of these. Like, I'm not some big conspiracy theorist who says like, oh, now IGN's going to literally be a puppet master and control what everyone does at all times forever, and there's going to be no integrity. But I don't know. It's sad to see that this is happening, especially growing up in an industry where I was constantly frequenting these different sites and they all had their own special flair and things to offer.
Yep.
But it's also not surprising at all because we live in the time of social media influencers and YouTubers and podcasters like ourselves that offer their own flavor of personality sometimes. And sometimes in people's eyes, whether it's true or not, offer more integrity. And it has people not visiting these sites and they're not as profitable as they used to be. And it's making these sites have to change the way they do business and the way they publish things so that they can garner an audience that helps them to make enough profitability off their site. So it's not surprising, but it's unfortunate. I was sad to see this. I don't see any positives coming from this, especially if I could even say like there was a positive to like, oh, well, maybe people will keep their job now. Well, yeah, this led to many, many people being laid off because of redundancies. So seems like a huge negative to me. Joe, what is your perspective? I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first time IGN have acquired, well, in this case, it is their competitors, but previously they acquired 1UP. I don't know if you remember those.
They did, and they also, which it's not a direct competitor, but they acquired How Long to Beat, which is a place a lot of people use, and Humble Bundle, which is a lot of people use that as well.
So I mean, this is the thing. Like, again, I come back to like the whole like business versus like customer side of me. As a businessman, which I'm not, but if I was from a business perspective, like, I get it. Like, you're swallowing up all of it, you're consolidating everything, you're marginalizing the entire industry. It's more like obviously overhead to take on, and you are potentially going to, like, just like Microsoft is in many ways now, or Xbox game studios, they are struggling to in many ways like make it all work, seemingly so. And potentially IGN's going to have that issue in the past or in the future. Sorry. I mean, like Colin has said in the past from Sacred Symbols, Last Stand Media, he said like, why do these companies have so many people? You know, you could have everyone working from home where you don't have to pay like a shit ton of money on office buildings, and like we can get the job done that way. And that's a much more effective way of doing it. And like, I feel like the problem with gaming journalists in general, like, is that we're at a point, not like individually, but we're at a point like where so much of their work is being usurped and taken into more libertarian fields such as YouTube, Twitch, stuff like that, by creators of smaller margin but of like higher individual like merit in many ways to a lot of people. And because they are seen as more of gamers than journalists are, they get more views and they have individual profits that they can take immediately from their views, from their AdSense and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, you look at the gaming industry in terms of from a journalist standpoint, and the AdSense is going down. Less people are reading your articles. Less people are reading magazines. You know, and more people are more interested in, I don't know, the attention span is going down. People are interested in, you know, sliding through shorts, sliding through Instagram Reels. You know, watching a skill up video, watching a Luke Stevens video, and like this is no negative to them people, no slant on them people, because those people do their research, they know what they're talking about. They're well produced videos, even things like Angry Joe, they're more entertaining for a lot of people. It's the new medium, and that's taking away from a lot of these media organizations, such as the Gamer Network and stuff. And obviously the reason why this has happened is because the money's not there. You get into a point where like I've studied journalism. I graduated as a journalist, and I wanted to be a games journalist. Like when I was doing it, like it was my biggest aspiration. But as soon as I started to realize that a lot of your, just like game development, your role is very it fluctuates in terms of like whether you have a job today or tomorrow. We look at Gene Park, who is at the Washington Post. He's the only person there left now, as in their gaming division. Like all his team, the rest of his team got laid off. So, and I was thinking about it, when I was going into it, I was like, should I do it? Should I not? And I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because you work for so long as a aspiring journalist, an amateur journalist in many ways, learning the ropes, getting experience and stuff like that. And a lot of the time you end up just not being paid for your work. A lot of it's voluntary.
You get paid nothing.
You get voluntary, and they basically, you do voluntary work, and they basically say, well, it's experience. Like, you need to get your name on the ladder in many ways. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but like, I'm fucking doing donkey work right now, and really pushing myself, and I'm getting paid squat diddly shit. But then at the same time, like, I 100% understand it from an AdSense. Your page, your article, your feature, 800 words, 1,000 words, 1,600 words, who cares? It's not bringing in any money because people aren't viewing it, And then it brings into this idea that it's like, well, should we clickbait? Obviously, like, Kotaku's the biggest one for it. It's like, okay, we're going to start clickbaiting people. Cool, brilliant. But then you start to kind of you start to garner disinterest and start to garner like sort of an antithetical approach to what like the audience wants to see, and they start to not like Kotaku. They start to not like.
Eventually, will get the hint. They'll understand what's happening.
Yeah, 100%. So you have this like, the problem is like with games journalists now is you have this industry that if they zig, they should have zagged, and if they zag, they should have zigged, and they're at a point now where like I think it's too far gone in many ways, where like these massive companies, these media organizations, can stand on their own 2 feet with, thousands of people underneath them now, especially depending on how many people they lay off of these businesses. But IGN like literally have as many studio employees as like a Sony Santa Monica. Like they have hundreds and hundreds of employees. It's like, can they sustain that? And I think honestly, the answer to it, if they don't homogenize and they don't get ahead of their competition, is no. And I would argue that like IGN, every single day their analysts will be sitting there analyzing the shit out of their bottom line so much, dude. And like you can't blame them. So
yeah, they're the company that didn't want to use YouTube for their videos.
Yep. Every time you go on their articles,
IGN player. Nobody liked the IGN player.
Dude, if I go on their articles and I want to see their like video review, which I rarely don't, I'll literally go over to their YouTube because it sucks. Like,
and type it. Yeah, you'll go over there and just I'll find that.
I will manually type it. Yeah. So and like I don't know if you have anything to say on what I just said.
No, I
Brian?
think between the both of us, we covered it pretty well. But yeah, go.
Yeah.
What do you have to say, Joe?
I mean, this like it aside from like just the whole like the bottom line
Neither
of it,
of us find this good.
Neither of us find this good. But like, I mean, like I've written some stuff down here like to read off. It's like, so like let me start with this. Like,
okay.
Petkovic, Brankica, these are people that have stated, and you can find this cited, they've stated that some believe media integrity to be at risk when ownership of the media market is concentrated. Media integrity refers to the ability of a media outlet to serve the public interest and democratic process, making it resilient to institutional corruption within the media system, economy of influence, conflict independence, and political clientelism. Right? So that's one thing. So media integrity, when this is homogenized, this starts to become like really, really, really bad immediately. Because like who is actually gauging like public interest now at this point? Okay. Then you've also got another thing, which is based on net neutrality. Joseph Strobhar, Robert LaRose, and Lucinda Davenport also have stated that net neutrality is at stake when media mergers occur. Net neutrality involves a lack of restrictions on content on the internet. However, with big businesses supporting campaigns financially, they tend to have influence over political issues, which can translate into their mediums. Now, obviously, this is specifically speaking on, obviously, tabloids and obviously news organizations like Fox, MSN, all that stuff that obviously have more, like way more, like obviously all hand in terms of like, you know, looking at your political matters, stuff like that. It's not the case with IGN at all. So let me preface this point with my concerns. So let me preface my concerns with this news by saying that in the United Kingdom, due mainly to having an uncodified constitution, unlike in the United States. So I'm going to get into the weeds here, guys. We have independent regulatory bodies that serve the people when the times arise. These are IPSO, which is the Independent Press Standards Organization, which regulates most national newspapers and many other media outlets. Impress, which is an independent monitor for the press, which handles a much smaller number of outlets, but is the only regulatory body that is recognized by the PRP, which is the Press Recognition Panel. And I'm getting into the weeds here, but this is like quite important to my point. And finally, Ofcom, which oversees social media devices as well as broadcast media such as TV, radio, video on demand, as well as telecommunication and postal services. So we have these independent bodies that are completely separate from governmental organizations. Yours that monitor social communication, cable television, all that stuff, that's FCC, right? But that is an independent governmental body. So, however, in the United States, the country in which IGN is based, bearing in mind, the First Amendment, right, of your codified constitution forbids the government from abridging freedom of speech or freedom of the press, something that we don't have. And the only body that can regulate interstate and foreign communications, as I've just aforementioned, is the FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission, as you guys would know. This obviously involves cable television, telegraph, telephone, and of course the internet. So content online is also monitored by the CIA, but that's mainly under the Patriot Act, and that's more so based around, you know, whistleblowing, governmental information, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So what worries me about this is that the FCC, despite being an independent governmental body, is exactly that, a governmental body. And it is funded by Congress, ultimately, and signed into law by your president, which, you know, is partisan. So, especially in your political climate of today. And our independent regulatory bodies in the UK is completely opposite to that. They have faults, but they are completely independent to everything that happens within Parliament or any ministers in power. And they have no say over the press at all. Yours do. The only thing that IPSO, Impress, Ofcom, all that stuff have over like the press is whether obviously it's brought to attention by the populace, essentially, whether it's inappropriate, whether it's defamation, whether it's malinformation, whether it's misinformation, etc., all of which don't exist in your constitution, especially not hate speech, right? So this leads my concern into two areas. With IGN now owning Eurogamer, GI, VG247, Rock Paper Shotgun, and more, who watches the gatekeepers of news for the good of the people in this regard? Your governmental bodies, can they be trusted? You know? Yeah. You tout on about, obviously, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, but when can that go too far, and when can the bodies above them be not so independent as you would like to think? I know I wouldn't personally like a governmental body regulating my news, personally speaking. And this was obviously a concern way before the consolidation by IGN. It always will be. And of course, but with more mainstream media outlets falling under them now, the pressure on a truly independent regulatory body are under much more scrutiny, in my opinion, especially within the games industry. So with this acquisition, this is my second concern, is there even less net neutrality, whether through agenda or practical means of locking off information? IGN now have even more keys to the kingdom of games journalism, and with the slow but almost certain death of traditional journalism within the said industry, due mainly in part to the lack of AdSense paying for the service journalists provide and the rise of independent creators on platforms such as YouTube, Twitch, taking away large swaths of, you know, the audience, as we've just discussed. Is this the first stage in one very homogenized industry that is at IGN's beck and call for the more traditional side of gaming news?
Well, that's
a lot. I've just reeled off a lot there.
Yeah.
But it just makes me very worried because as someone who has studied this, and I've just cited all that, it's terrifying, dude, in many ways, because like this is the thing, like everyone knows it, people don't like to talk about it, but like gaming journalism is very left wing, and that is by the by. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But the problem is it is tech, and the thing is left wing people are naturally more creative, they're more progressive people than right wing, so it feeds into that like sort of dynamic consistently. And the problem you have now is that it's becoming even more left wing because IGN are based in San Fran, and they are, like I said, swallowing it all up. And like you said, are we going to have an industry where all of these companies, Eurogamer, GI, VG247, Rock Paper Shotgun, etc., are going to lose their identity? Rock Paper Shotgun are obviously mainly known for their first-person shooter coverage, mainly. And VG247 have like more scoops than IGN most of the time. They have much more whistleblowers in the industry. Yeah. Eurogamer are exactly that. Euro. And it's getting to the point where it's one of those things where like because you've got a governmental body, an independent governmental body regulating your news or supposedly regulating your governmental news, and you can go to the FCC if you think something breaks a law, breaks is defamation, etc., and is a civil lawsuit, whatever. You can go to them, but the thing with it is like, are these standards, are these problems high enough for an independent governmental body to worry about? Because I know for a fact, as someone who studied it, Ipso, if you go to Ipso and you say, this is like defamed me, this is misinformation, this is malinformation, they will like get a retraction on your paper immediately. They will reprint your shit. You'll be forced to reprint your shit, depending on the severity. They will reprint your shit and you will have to offer an immense apology immediately. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in America with the FCC and civil cases, because it definitely does. But I think genuinely at this point, like for the good of like maybe even just this sect of gaming, I mean, it'll most likely never happen if I'm a betting man, but just for this sect of news organization, I think you need an independent body that is away from your government to like actually take these concerns seriously. So yeah.
Well, yes, because the government being the one who's supposed to be protective, it behooves them to be in control of the news.
Yes.
So that's not a good thing. Yeah. And then I think that the conglomeration of all of these different personalities and whatnot coming together under IGN's umbrella, everything is going to serve the purpose of IGN and what benefits them the most. And they're going to be able to have such a heavy influence on the information that's being put out there. What I wonder because of that is, well, first of all, we talk about how much the influencers and the social media is taking so much of their steam, right? They're the ones that are garnering their own audiences. People are going to them instead. So my question is, I guess my two questions would be, one is, does this conglomeration of all these different publications under IGN, does that help them in any way combat the social media and influencers that are taking so much from them?
Yeah.
Other than just the fact that they have less competitors and they can consolidate into one place to make
really good point.
More revenue. But then also, I think I kind of lost my second train of thought, but like, can they combat that? And, that's what my second thing was. Then can they combat the influencer, social media, and all that stuff? But then also, how does it affect the information that we're directly getting from these publications that the influencers are talking about, are spreading, right? Because, I mean, will those whistleblowers change or stop or act differently because they're now under new leadership?
Yep.
What will come down from IGN to these other publications? What will change? What did they bring that was very special to them that is now gone, their identity? And then, like you said, that's all backed up by the government being the regulatory body that is going to watch out for you. But would they really? Would they really do that? So I don't think at any point during any of this conversation anything about this has had a positive.
No, 100%. And I think I think you nailed it on the head where you said that is it just for removing the opposition? And I think that if that is the case, that's terrifying in many ways.
Yeah, and where could that go? Like, how far does that go up the ladder? Because then if it boils down to largely the news, the journalism, the sources are coming from under IGN, what is dictating how those sources are acquired, what those sources are saying, what validity and truth there is to those sources, and how is that all backed by monetary things like how the site's performing, how the videos are performing, or how the ads from companies and the relationship between like, oh, this game is coming out and it's under IGN's umbrella that they're going to talk about the game, market the game, review the game. How is it going to affect the integrity that's there altogether? I mean, it bodes so many questions across so many levels that it's just kind of scary. I mean, we're not going to really have, I don't even know if we'll have all the answers in 10 years, but we're not even going to have like a lot of the answers till this has been like many years have passed by and we see the ramifications of it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a scary time in many ways for like where the industry's going, because not only are we getting homogenizations of like game studios from Microsoft, PlayStation, Embracer, stuff like that, but you were also getting
the journalism on top of it,
and the journalism side of things. And I was speaking to a colleague at work the other day about how I was talking about the Helldivers 2 social media manager who got fired because he basically told people to review bomb their game based on that PSN sign up thing, mandatory sign up. And like he was like, there's probably not. He was like, it's crazy, dude. Like one day you can have a job and the next minute you can't. And out of all the times to do it, when like the industry is as fallible as it is with the whole like job security side of things, that's when you decide to do it. Like I guess it's noble, but like it's just as stupid in many ways.
That was only going to end one way.
Yeah, 100%. And scary times as as someone who's technically a trained journalist, like it's terrifying, dude, because especially since your company, the IGN, is based in America, and I was reading up on like what the press regulations are and stuff, and you guys are really like Wild West out there comparatively to us, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to the individual.
Joe, everything's the best in America. Everything's perfect over here. Don't you know that? Don't you know that if something's American, it's the best way to do things? Everyone knows that, right?
Yeah.
Sarcasm, obviously. But do you want to move to something happier, Joe? This was something will get you passionate.
Yes, we can.
This will get you. Did you have more to say?
No. Just I'm trying to think. I feel like I had something stored in the bottom of the magazine there when it comes to what I wanted to say. But crazy time. I don't read much IGN anyway. I don't even indulge on IGN that much. So
every now and then, but not too often.
Yeah,
it's crazy because like growing up, I was I would use IGN, and then I was like, no, growing up, I started at GameSpot.
Yes,
and then I was like, oh, GameSpot's not. They don't. Yeah, I was a kid, so this is ridiculous. I didn't even know what I was talking about.
Here it is.
Oh, they don't. I was like, GameSpot, they don't have the integrity anymore. I'm going to IGN. So I went to IGN, and then I was on IGN for years, and then I was like, oh, IGN doesn't have the integrity anymore. I'm going to Kotaku. And then I was at Kotaku for years, and I'm like, damn, they don't got any integrity at all. Shit.
Yeah.
And then it just became like for the last decade to 15 years, I have just been a guy who browses forums, Reddits, this person, that person, kind of a freelance all over the place because I don't really.
That brings me, like, that's what I was going to say. Like, the industry or like just games in general, we're so like, it's such a kind of libertarian hobby in many ways, in the sense that it's very much power to the people and with little regulation from above, whether state or whatever. And obviously, while there is regulation, like when it comes to like how we buy our games and like what formats and everything, in many ways, like obviously with the sort of like growth of the industry, the growth of the internet, the growth of gaming as an entertainment form, in many ways, like dedicated websites, dedicated media organizations within this. Like, I'm not talking about like other places, like like just like I said, MSN, MSNBC, stuff like that. Like I'm not talking about that. Like I'm talking about like specifically gaming news organizations. Like it's almost like, well, like logically, once like YouTube and stuff came along, like these self-created like platforms, I feel like it was like kind of writing on the wall in many ways. Like gamers are naturally creative people, and they are.
The one thing I will say in defense though is gamers are not naturally journalists or anything
They are
close
not.
to it.
Yes, that is true. They're not like, I'm not like trying to put like gamers on a pedestal in terms of they know what
No,
they're
I
talking
know
about
you're
all
not.
the time.
I know you're not. Yeah.
But like at the same time, like to have a massive studio such as this one have 300 employees and up, and potentially more or less or whatever, try and like put out, like I said, 400 to 600 to 800 use like 4 to 800 word like articles, whatever, feature pieces, every day, and expect people to read that every single day when we're losing attention span and everything, is kind of lack of foresight in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they're reaping what they sow.
Yeah.
In that regard. And I don't know, it's weird, dude, because like you look at things like Steam reviews and stuff, and the amount of people that post on there, the amount of people that read that stuff,
and
people
the
are more
power
interested
behind it.
Yes,
yeah.
the power behind just people putting it's shit, don't play. Like honestly,
literally,
dude, like it straight up is potentially like more powerful than an IGN 800 word review that takes hours to write, play, get the review copy early, keep up public relations, etc., etc. Publish the video alongside it because you have a video review and a written review at the same time. It's a lot, dude. It's a lot. What they need to do is they need to start streamlining their fucking content because it's too much. It's too much, dude.
Well, I want them to streamline it in a way. Well, I guess I don't care what they do, but like I want them to streamline it in a way that I have any interest in at all, because like I think it was like I don't think it was like a rumor. I think it was public knowledge that like Kotaku has went into something like 80% guides and tips.
Yes. Yep.
And it's like, I don't want that. And I understand why they're doing it, because it's a lot easier to get traction to have people come to their site playing a game. Oh, I need help. I need tips. I need guides. But like, what I used to care about was like reading like interesting articles, whether it be something behind the scene or somebody just had a really great perspective on something.
Yeah, like a Jason Schreier exposes Anthem kind of shit. That was amazing.
That's the content for me.
That's the content, yeah, and 100%. And even that, like, guides and stuff, like bringing in the views. Like, honestly, like someone who used to have like a guidebook, like for every game I used to play, or almost like every main game. Like I have a Fallout 3 guidebook behind me right now, like in that bookshelf.
Cool.
Like it's thick, dude. It's dummy thick.
I would imagine.
And like, I used to scan through that and then go on the website and like look at IGN, look at GameSpot for guides and stuff. Even that's gone down the shitter for me personally. I just go on a YouTube video. Like right now, I'm playing Resident Evil Separate Ways. You know what I'm doing? I'm looking at the playthrough and I'm following him meticulously. Better way, trust me. So much easier.
I would say that's what's so great too, and what I love about like with influencers and stuff, or even just not even someone who's an influencer, somebody with 20 subscribers on YouTube. You can be like, let's say you're playing a game and you're like, I have a bucket and I have a shovel and it's asking me to get up the mountain. What the hell do I do?
Yep.
And then you go and you type in YouTube, bucket, shovel, mountain. Let's say the game's called Blade 3.
Yep.
And it comes up and it's like, how to use your shovel to make the bucket help you get up the mountain. And you're like, holy God, crap, this is exactly where I'm stuck. And this guy made a video exactly for me. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that.
It works. Like the indexing feature is the best.
Yeah.
You don't have to dig through part 1 to 1,000 of
and it's hilarious too when it's really successful is when like I said, the guy has like 20 subscribers, but that particular video has 99,000 views. It's like, okay, everyone went to this dude for this problem.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's cool.
Let's move on.
Joe, you'll really like this next article. You'll be excited for it. The Witcher 3 Red Kit goes live alongside new patch that enables DLC-sized mods. The Witcher 3 now has Red Kit, a comprehensive and advanced modding tool for PC that enables the creation of DLC-sized mods. All who own Witcher 3 on PC can now download Red Kit through GOG, Epic Game Store, and Steam. On Steam, it features Steam Workshop integration. Here is the official blurb. Developed and implemented by Yigsoft with close collaboration from CD Projekt Red team, The Witcher 3 Red Kit offers a plethora of advanced features as well as full Steam Workshop integration, making publishing and using mods easy for both creators and casual players. As a repurposed, reworked, and extended codebase of Red Engine 3, it gives modders unparalleled freedom in creating new quests, characters, locations, and more. Today's release was accompanied by a trailer that features some of the modding possibilities contained within the tool, as well as an overview of its major features. So this was something that Joe's been excited for a while. It's crazy. It's coming, 9 years after Witcher 3.
Yep.
Full modding tools for Witcher 3. And here's the thing. Witcher 3 is an amazing game. And if you look at what they're showing and saying that this modding tool can do, with time, people could create some seriously amazing content within Witcher 3. So it's awesome that it's here. I'm interested to see what comes from it. And I'm interested to see if, like Bethesda, at any point in the time, someone will create something so good or so faithful that CD Projekt Red will take it under their own arm and publish it in a sense as something official. I'm curious to see that. But over to you, Joe. What do you have to say about this? What do you think about it?
Do you want to know how many people work at this studio?
At CD Projekt Red or the Yigsoft?
Yigsoft that made this.
I'm guessing you're going to say a low number?
Just guess.
I'm going to say 50.
13.
13. Wow, that's impressive, dude.
That's wild.
That's why
right?
It's 9 years. That's why it's 9 years.
Why it's 9 years, and I mean, obviously they got
that's cool though
from CD, but
yeah,
bro,
that's
this
awesome.
is fire. This is fire.
Yeah.
We was talking about it in the Discord earlier, a couple of days ago. I was talking to Chaos about it, and he was like, "Yeah, this is kind of like it's cool that they'll be able to get mods out like Well, no, he said, I'll backtrack here. He originally said, it doesn't really matter because I'm on PC. We've already had mods, and he thought it was just like them bringing it to consoles, right? The mods that we've already got on PC.
Yeah.
No, buddy. This is like full-on creation engine. Like, let's make everything right now, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Let's go. Like,
let's do Battle of Helm's Deep from Lord of the Rings in Witcher 3.
In The Witcher 3. Like, that's what this is. And, like, it's coming to consoles. It's coming to PC. Like, this is fucking dope. And, like, he was like, holy shit. I was like, dude, like, I mod Witcher, right? I've modded plenty of Witcher playthroughs, like maybe 4 or 5 of them. Like, that game is based, like, all those mods are based off of scripts and texture replacements. That's it. Like, that's all the basic mods that we've had up until this point based on what we have. And now we have this.
And you can even make full-on cutscenes.
Yes, you can make cutscenes, you can make maps, you can place like Roach on the building, like in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking dope, dude. And this is the first stage, or this is the stage that like changes your game from a game to a platform, just like Skyrim did. And it is exciting to see because I can't wait. Like, even if it just means I can go like even more immersive sim with the way I play The Witcher, because I love playing it like I'm in the books kind of thing, where I have to like meticulously drink all my potions and everything, and I have to go like crazy with campfire resting and stuff. It's just going to allow much more functional support for modders, and I think it's honestly going to breathe like a shit ton of new life into the modding scene, because since the next gen update, a lot of modders have kind of gone away from the scene a little bit, because it's been so long since like the last proper patch, which was 1.32, I think it was, pre next gen update, and they haven't come back because of it, like, because it's just so long, like they can't be bothered to come back and update their mods essentially. So like, this is potentially going to bring in new modders, and it's also going to bring in the old modders back potentially if they're interested in this stuff. So yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I can't wait to see like what people do with it. I'll have to update my game and like sort of reinstall all my mods I already have in my current playthrough, because like I'm halfway through that playthrough itself, so that's annoying, but it's fine. This is dope. This is really dope. I'm excited. Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking, Joe? So the CD Projekt Red already announced that they're having a different developer do a Witcher 1 remake, and it's in development.
Yep.
But my question for you is, what do we get first? A official sanctioned Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings remake, or a full-on remake within Witcher 3? Because I feel like that's coming.
Depending on the success of the Witcher 1 remake, which will probably be successful, let's be honest. I think you're looking at a mod.
Probably a mod, right? Because like, even if Witcher 1 remake's successful, like, what for the actual release of a Witcher 2 remake, we're looking at least 7, 8, 9, 10 years, 7 to 10 years from now.
As if they even do it. But
if they even did it. Yeah.
It's one of those things where, dude, like the Red engine is proprietary, so it's made in-house by CD themselves. That engine is so fucking like hard to...
I was saying, they don't like it there. They're done with it.
Yeah, they're done with it completely, like, for their future projects. But the fact that like they took time to go back to it and like sort it out,
that
and,
is
like,
really surprising.
That's really surprising, and they got it to work as well is wild, dude. So
yeah, I
mean, this combined with the Witcher 3 coming to the Switch it was Saber Interactive, right? Like, that's is it Saber Interactive?
You're probably right. It was the two I think of as them and Panic Button that do the good Switch ports, but it's probably Saber.
But yeah, I think that's a marvel of design and engineering, really, and yeah, so awesome stuff. I'm excited to jump in and see what they've got.
You're gonna have some crazy playthroughs in the future.
Yeah, dude.
What's the hype check here, Joe? We're going over to Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree
9.
story trailer releases. 9?
9.
Dude, holy shit. I thought you were going to be like, I don't even care, man. Like, because even though we both don't think Elden Ring's even like top 3.
Yeah, but it's still
Souls
a fire game, dude. Like,
it's still an amazing game, right? And this trailer was super badass. It was awesome. It came out just a few days ago. I know we're both going to be there day one.
Yep.
I get a feeling that you're going to finish the DLC, and I'll be like, I just beat the first boss of the DLC because I am not good at these. Here's the thing. Like, I got to say, and I said this earlier today in the Discord, like, I don't think I'm good at Souls games at all, but I have completed by myself Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, Demon Souls, and all of them I beat without any help or co-op or summons except for Elden Ring. I used Ash summons in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
So I'm bad, but like I'm obviously good enough to beat them. So
yeah.
But yeah, this is day one. It looks amazing. I can't wait for it.
Yeah. Is it I don't know where it fits in the story. Is it after the main story?
I think it's after, and it's a whole new like zone separate. You leave the lands between.
Yeah, I'll just like carry on with my build then. I won't like obviously replay the game, but yeah,
got that bleed build.
Yeah, bleed build. It's been nerfed though recently, so I don't think it'll be as effective.
Well, like it hasn't been nerfed in the last week, right?
No. But since when I played it,
I was just saying, I wonder how powerful
shit.
your guy was, because my dude is super powerful, and it's after the patch.
I used it without the one where you stab yourself. What's it called?
Seppuku.
Seppuku. I didn't use it. I used
Seppuku.
I used the big in the offhand. I used the big samurai sword, and I used the little samurai sword on the right. And I was just like,
yeah. I mean, I have one of the big samurai swords, one of the little ones, but then I was seppukuing both of them.
Okay.
And,
yeah. I didn't opt for that.
Game's so good.
I was seeing the playthrough and the playthroughs people were doing with that seppuku, and I was like, that's too OP. Like, I can't do that. Like, people were mimicking it and then seppukuing it, so you like both of you would have seppuku.
Oh yeah, my mimic has the seppuku also. Yeah. But the thing is like I recently, the most recent boss I beat was, I'm gonna say his name wrong. It's the dragon Placidu.
Oh yeah.
Placido, whatever.
Yeah.
I probably had to fight him 20 times before I beat him, and that was with me full maxed out.
Is that the one who's in the storm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The one who.
Yeah. I probably
he's
fight him
cool
20
as shit,
times,
dude.
and I had seppuku'd both swords. I had all of the stuff that increases my damage build up, and I had the mimic, and it still took me like 20 times. So.
Do you know how long it took me?
First try.
No, I don't. I think it was first try, but it might have been second or third. But yeah.
Look at Joe with the big dick on the table here. Thanks, man.
Flex it.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is like I beat it, but I'm like, and what I really hate is like where I'm like, oh, this boss took me. I beat him. It took me You know what the worst is? I think I've probably said this on a podcast somewhere before. And when I say this, people are going to be like, bro, you should just give up Souls. Okay. You should just give up Souls.
Okay.
In Dark Souls 3, Leoric, the twin princes, at the end of Dark Souls 3, twin princes, he crawls around on the floor.
I'm trying to remember.
It took me over 150 tries.
Oh my god! Oh, I know. Yeah, he's horrible. He has like so many phases, right? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. Because once you beat him, the other prince comes down and gets all his health back, and he goes for ape shit.
Yeah. I've only played Dark Souls 3 once, so yeah.
Same. Yeah. I beat him though. I did beat him.
Nice.
But it was crazy. I was listening to like crazy metal music, and like by the 130th try, I'm like.
Just screaming at
for Rohan and for Gondor. Yeah, pretty much. And then Hail the Victorious Dead, because I died 150 times. So But yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm stoked. Are you gonna play day one, Joe? We're gonna be there together day one.
I'm gonna force myself to buy this day one, regardless of what I'm playing.
$40, and I feel like this will be better. This will probably win Game of the Year. It's not even a game; it's an expansion.
Well, that'll bring in loads of things like, should it be Game of the Year?
I know, but my guess is it's going to have like at least a base 20 hours of content, if not 40, 50 when you do everything and you play, like, you really go into it. So
yeah, these developers need to stop like saying these are DLCs. They need to just like, if they're big like these expansions, they need to just call it like Elden Ring, like colon. Yeah, Shadow of the Erdtree.
It's interesting.
No expansion, no DLC for marketing, because like then you could potentially just pick yourself as like whatever you want retroactively. It's interesting,
yeah, because like the final like Blood and Wine, the final Witcher 3 expansion,
dude, that could be a whole game.
That is worth more than many a game. And it's not just like a Witcher 3 fan.
Yeah,
it's like literally, it's like it's huge and it's content rich and it's worth a lot. So
Did you beat Blood and Wine and all that stuff?
I did. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. I think I'm a weird one in that I actually liked the Hearthstone better.
Yeah.
Hearts of Stone, I mean, not Hearthstone. Wow.
Hearts
of Stone.
Yeah, Hearts of Stone is I think
just love the
better
building.
narratively. Yeah.
Narratively. Yeah,
Also,
exactly.
Dim, what was your ending on that? Like,
I got the good one where I got the good. I made sure I did the best one.
Okay.
But I don't remember
you looked it up.
what was.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, at first I screwed up and like the dude that I was there with like got killed by the dude. But I ended up saving everyone.
Nice. Okay, yeah.
It was awesome.
You battled the Master of Mirrors.
Yes, I
Love
did.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so good, dude.
I just
Such a great
like
DLC.
a little tangent here, but I just love how like they take away the combat in that section, just make you use your brain. Like it's so perfect.
That's why I had to use a guide because they wanted me to use my brain.
What the fuck am I doing?
I'm like, I can't go slashy. That's awesome, dude. All right. This one, this article right here, this made me really happy. This comes from Gamatsu. Shift up considering Stellar Blade PC version and sequel, cross-platform project code named Project Witches. Shift Up is exploring the possibility of both a PC version of Stellar Blade and a sequel, in addition to its previously confirmed cross-platform project. Newly codenamed Project Witches, the studio revealed in its initial public offering filing on the Korea Composite Stock Price Index. I want to read about. Let's see here what the Witcher or the Witches game, Project Witches game. It's supposed to be like a gotcha game.
Okay.
Where is it here? Beyond Stellar Blade, we are developing a new intellectual property-based game, Project Witches, for release in 2027 or later, and are considering a PC version of Stellar Blade and a sequel. I don't know where I read that. I'm trying to get down to what Project Witches was, but it's not going to be like a single player AAA offering like Stellar Blade is. But I mean, but that's coming as well, and I'm just excited to see the success for the studio Shift Up. I am really interested because we're going to definitely talk about it on the show when I finally beat Stellar Blade. But something about Stellar Blade has resonated with me deeply, and I don't understand what it is. And I feel like there's a lot of people listening right now who are like, Brian, it's the boobs. It's the boobs. No, it's not.
It's the lace. Yeah.
No, it's not. Something about it has resonated with me deeply because I played the demo and I loved it. And then as you guys know, from the beginning of us starting Critical Frames, it's been like, is Brian going to buy Stellar Blade or not? I finally bought it. I bought it in the last week.
There it is.
I put down the money. I'll talk about that more when we get into what we're playing, but I played through the demo twice, and I went back and forth for almost 2 weeks on whether I buy this or not, because it was $70. It was a game I had no interest really in up to playing the demo, and I just love the style and the music and the artwork and the gameplay, and all of it is so awesome. And so I bought it, and then I've played like a few hours, and then Hellblade 2 on the Xbox came out, which I'm going to play through Game Pass.
Okay.
So I've taken a break to get that done because that's a much shorter game. So I haven't gotten that far into it yet, but I just have such a high opinion of it. And I'm like seeing that they're going to do a PC version, seeing they're talking about a sequel.
Yeah.
It's got me so excited. It's got me so excited to the point where a lot of people have said Stellar Blade's inspiration is directly drawn from a game called Nier Automata or Automata.
Yeah,
Automata, my bad. I said it wrong.
Yeah.
Automata. And now I'm like, I'm going to buy Nier Automata because of how much I love Stellar Blade. And I'm just like,
Nier Automata is fucking fire, dude.
You've played all the way through.
I played it, yeah.
Dude, I like, and that's what Stellar Blade, like, and everyone's like, Stellar Blade's really good, but it's a lesser Nier Automata.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if I love Stellar Blade this much, I gotta play Nier Automata. So, TLDR, I love that they're having success here. Like, they're obviously, this game is selling better than they thought, and it's having great word of mouth. It's really kicking ass. And also, this is a game that is not owned by Sony, so Shift Up can take their IP where they want and do what they want with it, which is so cool. And it really sucks that all the focus on this game building up to launch was just on how sexy the game was, because it's just a freaking awesome, badass game.
Yeah,
it
like,
really is.
I think once you get into it, I bet like you're not even thinking about all that shit.
No, when I'm running around doing stuff, I'm not even thinking about the character and her how she's dressed. Yeah, the boobies.
The boobies.
But yeah, so I love seeing the success. This game's awesome. I cannot wait to come back in future weeks and report on how much I love this game. What do you think, Joe? I mean, you've already said a lot, but you know.
Yeah, I don't have like nowhere near as much like sort of in this as you, Brian, but like this is dope. I'm so glad they are getting the money. I'm so glad like they're on a platform that this is such a dirty jab. They're on a platform that like encourages you to buy games.
Yes.
You know.
$70. Like that's it. That's why I went back and forth, but I ultimately was like, this. They put out. I love when games put out a demo because if you know your game's good, you put out a demo. I play it. I love it. I'm gonna buy it.
Yep. You put out a demo. You know your worth. You put it out, and like with it not being like day and date on a service-based platform, like they get their money. They get. Like support those devs, guys. Like whatever it is, even if it's an Xbox game, like Hellblade 2 right now, go out and buy that shit. Like
you know what's it's funny. I always preach the same thing, and it's weird. So this is a little tangent. Back in 2019, so 5 years ago, Game Pass was not as old as it is now. Obviously, Gears of War 5 was coming out, and I don't know if anyone. This is a PlayStation podcast, but anyone who followed Gears of War 5 at the time, they didn't call it Gears of War 5. They called it Gears 5.
Yep.
And they changed the protagonist from JD, the guy in Gears 4, to a woman named Kate. And all the build up for the game, all the trailers, I thought looked pretty poor.
Yes.
I was convinced that they'd screwed it up. Yeah. So I have only subscribed for Game Pass twice in my life. I subscribed 1 month when Gears 5 came out so I could get Gears 5 and see if it didn't suck. I got Gears 5 and played it on Game Pass, realized it was an awesome game, ended up buying it.
Yeah.
So 5 years later, Hellblade 2 comes out. Reviews are all over the place. Some people saying 10, some people saying 5 out of 10. And I signed up for Game Pass again because I'm like, I'm just not sure I'm going to like this game at all. And I'll save some of that for what we're playing. And obviously, it's an Xbox game, but it's going to come to PlayStation. Let's be honest here.
Yep.
Plus, Hellblade 1 was on PlayStation. But I'm actually really loving Hellblade 2. And I'm saying to myself, wow, I would have been happy buying this.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is I can beat it on Game Pass. And I'll wait till it goes on a little bit of a sale where I can at least get my Game Pass money back buying it. Yeah. And then I'll buy it. But yeah, that was a long tangent to say there. But yeah, buy your games for sure. I'm going to buy Hellblade 2 if I like it like I think I do.
Yeah, it's really weird. Again, not to go like even like more on a tangent from your tangent, but like Game Pass is brilliant. I love it in the sense that like from a customer standpoint, you could try those games out and like not feel like you've just dropped like 7-8 hours of your hard-earned like hourly work rate, depending on how much you earn salary wise. So it's hard because if you try out a game on Game Pass and there's no demo available, for example, you try out a game on Game Pass and you end up not liking it, like good for you, like you've been smart.
Yeah.
But then like if you go on Game Pass for like say Hellblade 2 like you have, and you end up loving it, adoring it, and you're like, most people straight up like aren't gonna go and like buy the game outright. They're not gonna. I
will buy it if I beat it and I loved it. I'm buying it.
Like you will, because you're passionate and you want to support those.
But most people won't.
But most people won't. And the same, like, it's not like I'm trying to be like, yeah, they're idiots for that. Like I genuinely
they're smart.
They're just, that's how like they're economic. Like you can't make economically moralistic choices in many ways, And
the proposition of Game Pass is to spend the least amount of money and get the most entertainment.
That's how they've trained you, and like that's where to me Game Pass sucks, because like people will happily not buy shit. I mean, I've done it in the past, dude. Like when State of Decay 2 came out, like I signed up for like the fucking $1 pass, played it for a month with my buddy. Yep. Never carried on the service at all. They got £1 from me, dude.
Yeah.
That's basically nothing. You might as well not bother. Just give me a free month.
It was a loss. For what that is that's a risk, you know, is for every they've done the math, and I would say that it's probably a win. They would say, for every 100 people we offer this $1 to, we're going to get this many that actually continue to subscribe at full price, and it makes it worth it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
you weren't the one.
No, I wasn't the one, and I don't think I am going to ever be the one, which is fine. But it's it's a shame that happens potentially en masse. I'd love to see those
and when it affects the
trial
developer,
period, sign up period.
But that's not on us. That is not on us to take a good deal. Also, not to mention that the developer took the deal as well.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
But you still want to support them.
But yeah, bringing this back to Stellar Blade, awesome that it's, getting considered for a PC version from Shift Up. I'm glad that like the controversy hasn't fucked them up in terms of sales. They deserve better than that over something so minor, as we've discussed on, was it episode 1 of Critical Frames? I think it was.
Yep.
And be cool to see what Project Witches is like. And
I'm less interested in that because it does seem to be like live service-y gotcha type thing, and I like this is Shift Up's first effort into a full AAA single player game, and that's what I want to see more of. But obviously, I want the success for them regardless.
100%, yeah.
Okay, on to our last story before we get into what we're playing. This one, I was like, we gotta talk about this for Joe, and the thing is, this is about Death Stranding, and Death Stranding, Joe has such a passion for it, and I also want to become a Kojima fan. Like I said, you may be listening to this now and seeing artwork for our podcast where my face is in Kojima's art, or like at least his game's art.
Yeah.
But I want to get into Death Stranding. So this is Death Stranding 2, which is going to be coming. I'm thinking maybe next year. It seems like that could be possible.
It's 2025. I think it's kind of confirmed. I think they.
Yeah, I think it is confirmed for 2025, and I want to be prepared for that. I want to definitely get Death Stranding 1 and play through it and be prepared for this. But this comes from Famitsu. Death Stranding 2 on the beach. English voice acting and motion capture is now complete. Roughly 1 year to go. At the beginning of the second episode broadcast on May 18th, 2024, director Kojima mentioned the development status of Death Stranding 2. The recording and shooting of the actors has ended, and now it is a phase of adjusting the production, ease of understanding, fun, and the feeling of operation while watching the connection. Speaking on the last trailer that was released, it seems that he made an effort to show the whole, including the difference as a sequel, the same part as the previous work, the connection between the characters and the game nature, theme, and look, such as new characters. So it's exciting to know that things are coming along. Voice acting and motion capture is done. We're 1 year out. I know Joe's very hyped for this game. Over to you, Joe.
Like, here's the thing. Like, if anyone wants to see, like, I'm gonna say this. If anyone wants to see if anyone's interested in my raw reaction on how much I love Death Stranding, like, head over to, like, this is a shameless self-plug, but
plug it.
Head over to Small Print Live on YouTube. You might have to, like, find it and, like, try and find my Death Stranding 2 initial trailer reaction. Like, I was literally like, as soon as the soundtrack came on for BB's theme, and as soon as like the strands dropped and stuff, like the red strands, I was like,
your pants dropped.
I was like, that's Death Stranding. I was like, no fucking way, because like no, it was basically like, is this going to be like a one and done, like artsy fartsy piece like from Kojima? Is he going to kind of move back to his traditional stealth stuff, which he kind of is alongside this, but like he's making a second one. And like, while I was always in the camp of like they should have done one and finished, because some things are best left in isolation, like The Last of Us Part 1. Seeing a second game is like, and seeing all the visuals, like seeing all the... Actually, I have two reactions.
The last trailer was super impressive.
Dude, I have the announcement trailer reaction on my channel, and I also have the the reveal or whatever it was, like the last one, that was a big one, the one you're talking about with like the guitar playing and stuff. Dude, like I was like, bro, like this, like Death Stranding 1 has like style, like it has like 10 out of 10 style, but Death Stranding 2, there's something like he's just ratcheted everything up. Like
it looks like it's going to be a better game, and I'm not. That's not a diss on the first one at all. Just looks.
And
like
I was like meticulously picking it apart, and it was like questioning like whether we should have connected, because at the end you connect America and stuff, like whether you should and it was like talking about the stick and the rope, and it was like because the idea is in the first game, like it's about getting rid of violence and let's connect and trying to be a pacifist or just defending yourself and moving away and not going out for vengeance and stuff. And it to me, it does that theme beautifully, like absolutely immaculately. I love it. It really resonated with me massively. But then in the second one, in the trailer, they use this idea of the stick and the rope. The rope is what you use in the first game, and the stick is what your enemies use to obviously attack you with. You know, it's kind of like bringing it back to that tribalism route, that tribalism theme. But then the second one's like, maybe it's time, and it has like symbols of like the stick and the rope together, and Higgs, the villain, is talking about like, oh, you've started using the stick, you've thrown away your rope and stuff, like not literally but figuratively. And it's just like fucking dope, dude. Like the choreography is absolutely incredible in the cutscenes, like the production level looks absolutely fire. I love it. Like there's a shot of the moon, like where he's walking and there's like flying dinosaurs in the background or something. I'm like, dude, this is literal perfection to me. Like I adore it. Like things can destroy your structures now, so like you can build a bridge and a flood can come through and destroy your shit.
That's
like,
a whole new element.
It's a whole new element, dude. Like it just looks absolutely incredible. And like I think he's trying to address the criticisms of the first game in many ways. Like he's trying to give people more things to do and stuff. And while I don't necessarily love that, because I've said in the past, Kojima has done this in the past. He's said,
you've mentioned
and
that.
He's like sort of kowtow to like kind of the criticisms. He did that from Metal Gear Solid 2 to 3, and he did that from Metal Gear Solid 2 to 4 with Raiden, making him more badass, even though he didn't need to be and stuff like that. But seeing this from like just an overarching like trailer concept and stuff, and the fact that it's moving progressively really nicely with the motion capture and the voice acting being complete, you know, roughly 1 year to go for the release. I'm hyped, dude. Like this is the only thing I care about right now as a mainline game. I just talked about Elden Ring DLC, but like honestly, like if I could sacrifice like Death Stranding 2 being the best game I've ever played for Elden Ring DLC never coming out, I would in a heartbeat. Like this is like my shit, and like when that game comes out, if they're still doing critical frames, which you damn well are gonna be, like I am going to fucking talk about this shit so much, dude.
Dude, we could have a whole dedicated episode to Death Stranding too.
I'd love that, dude.
It'll be awesome. So much we can do. Yeah, dude, I'll be there. Like the only way I will not be there for Death Stranding 2, I am a very, very open-minded gamer. I have told the story a bazillion times across different places about how it took me years and purchasing the Elder Scrolls Oblivion 4 or 5 times to get into it. I am very open-minded. The only way I will not be there for Death Stranding 2
is if
I buy Death Stranding 1 and it is so unfun and so awful for me personally to experience that I can't glean any joy from it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very unlikely. Now I know it's not for everyone.
Yeah, I really hope you're not in that camp. Like,
no,
like,
I think
not for my sake, but just for your own. Like, I really
my guess is that the worst possible thing is that I'll beat it and I'll be like, it was fine. 7 for me.
Yeah.
Which that's enough for me to buy the sequel.
100%.
It's just I would hate if I'm just like, oh, this is so agonizing. I'm not like that very often because like for instance, like Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah.
I hate that combat. I hate it. Nothing about it's fun. It annoys me.
Yeah.
I beat that whole game. I love that game. It's a great game.
Yeah.
I just hate the combat, and that's a large part of the game. But I hate it.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be good. But I'm looking forward to that.
My advice to you, since you don't like doing all that side stuff, mostly in like open world games, and you just like to have like a sort of linear experience, regardless of what's around you. For a lot of it is like, I genuinely think like, unless it takes you, which I don't think it will, because like the side quests are very much like the same as the main quest. You deliver things, obviously, and it's what you see in the journey, not the destination. But I honestly say you need to mainline it. Like there's best you can.
It's probably best. At least the first time. If I love it, I can play it again.
Yeah, 100%. And even if you don't mainline it, you can go back and do the side quest any time. Like it doesn't really matter. But you don't just mainline that shit. Enjoy it. Enjoy the story.
Do I get to see Jeff Keighley if I mainline it?
No.
I gotta do at least one side quest.
Conan O'Brien's in it as well.
Oh yeah, I gotta do that too. That'd be cool. Yeah, but I'm looking for. I'm actually like. I mean, I'm not gonna pretend I'm anywhere near as hyped as Joe, but I'm hyped for this game to release. Death Stranding 2. It'll be awesome.
One thing I will say is it'll look gorgeous on your new TV and soundbar. Like honestly, like straight up.
Oh, yeah.
You can have there's different modes as well where you can have like letterbox, like higher field of view and stuff. And it's like a movie. It's a gorgeous game.
Dude, I'm looking forward to it. So many games I want to buy. Okay, so that brings me to, and I feel like we're getting into this habit of where we have to combine things at the end. We are going for long episodes, but we often come up on a time frame where it gets away from us. So I'm going to combine. What we usually like to do at the end here is talk about what games we're playing as one segment, and then the next segment is like kind of a special topic. And the first episode we talked about PS4 and PS Portal. Second episode, we talked about what would Sony Santa Monica do if it wasn't God of War. My special topic was just going to be what is at least one, if not several, PlayStation games we haven't played that we're eager to get to in time. So I want to kind of combine that with our what we're playing. And I'll go over to you first, Joe, at least for what you're playing. Tell us about what you're playing.
Not a lot. Same as last time, really. Separate Ways DLC. Still playing it. Being meticulous with everything that is going on with the content. Going for 100% trophies, which if anyone that has 100%ed any Resident Evil games, it means that you need to get a S+ rank on a playthrough, and usually that means a very low playtime. So normally, depending on obviously what it is, but for base games, it's normally like under 5 hours. And you need to save less than 10 times, mostly. But in this case, in Separate Ways DLC, because it's a shorter DLC, I have to beat it in 2.5 hours, and I need to get less than 10 saves. So it's good. It's very good. But the problem I found with Ada's campaign is that they throw a lot of like bosses at you very quickly, like mini bosses, like the Gyarados and stuff, one after the other. And a lot of the time, they don't give you kind of the tool set to like beat a lot of those kind of enemies. Like the Gyarados are like kind of in this, like I've just hit like a really hard wall with the Gyarados where you have to like basically get behind them. They're blind enemies, and you have to get behind them and stab them, and then like you have to, or like shoot them in the back. But there's two of them at the same time, so you kind of have to. And you also have to fight. In this case, you have to fight like loads of other normal enemies, normal villagers or whatever. So it's just kind of like it's too much on this difficulty. And the craziest thing is I have the Chicago Typewriter, which is like one of the best guns in the game, which like shreds enemies. But the problem is because it's like a pepper gun in terms of like you're meant to blast a shit ton of rounds profusely into someone with a sustained rate of fire. You can't really shoot and move with it. You got to shoot and continuously shoot. And when an enemy is charging at you with Wolverine blades, it's kind of pretty much impossible. So
yeah,
I've gotten to a point where like I have to kind of figure out a new strategy when it comes to like throwing a grenade in there when they're tied to the wall for a little bit, and then maybe like hitting them with a sniper round to penetrate through the sort of Las Plagas sensitive area on their back that does the most damage. But yeah, I mean, it's still very good. I'm still enjoying it. I'm just at a point where like I have hit a point where I just want it done in many ways, and I'm skipping all the cutscenes.
I'll say, I wonder how much of that is you feel the team wasn't up to snuff as much with this DLC compared to the base game, or you just hitting a level of exhaustion, or both? Like, does it match the level of quality?
You know what I think it is? Game? I genuinely think I'd get through it fine. Being honest here, I think it's me not playing games as much because of the passing in my family, because I'm just like, my headspace isn't in it as much as usual. And I think it's also, and I think it's also the fact that Ada is a lot more vulnerable. Like, she has a lot more offensive capabilities. She has better weapons from the get-go with like the black tail and the explosive crossbow and stuff like that. But ultimately, she struggles with defensive. Like, she doesn't have the body armor that Leon has, and she doesn't have like you don't seem, the spawning in the DLC doesn't seem to give you as many heavy grenades as Leon's does in professional difficulty, in the highest difficulty. So it's kind of like a mix between, I think, just an over obtuse, not necessarily an obtuse level, but just a more linear fashion, a less forgiving campaign for the challenge runners, and also like my skill set just degrading a little bit because I've just not been in the. Because when I was doing Leon's campaign, I was literally doing, like, I was doing back-to-back playthroughs of just like. Let's do this. Let's do New Game Plus. Let's do a fresh new game. Bang, 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 bang. And I think in the space of 2 days, like, I told you I beat the game like 4 times or some shit.
Yeah,
like,
you were on a tear.
I was on a tear. So with Ada, it was like I've come back to it after a weekend of like being like down and out and shit. So it's just kind of like, but I'll get there. Still a great DLC. Still 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 overall experience for that game. Yeah, massively recommend it. So what about you, Brian? You've got more interesting things to talk about.
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, I kind of wrapped up where I was at on Elden Ring, just waiting for the DLC. So the 2 things I've played, what I wanted to say I played all week was Stellar Blade, because I bought Stellar Blade and I've got into it. I've got, past where I was in the demo. Mm-hmm. Still really enjoying the game, blown away by its music, its visuals. The combat's so fun. I just cannot wait to return to Stellar Blade and beat it. But then what happened was I knew that Hellblade 2 was coming out on Xbox, but I was kind of concerned for what the quality of that game would be, because Microsoft has seemed to not market it at all. Obviously, they recently closed studios after the release of a hit game. Yeah, I was just kind of down on it, and then the reviews came out for Hellblade 2, and I was seeing 10s, and I was seeing 5s and 6s and 7s and 8s and 9s and like everything in between. And I was just like, I kind of want to be able to weigh in on this experience. Now, this is a PlayStation show, and this is not a PlayStation game at the moment. So I am going to end up talking about this game at length on my other podcast. But just to kind of summarize here, I've played over half the game, and I'm trying to get through it, and I really, really love it. And I'm thinking I would lean more towards a higher score.
Okay.
But it's a really interesting thing, because I think this is like, I feel like this is the only time in my memory I can recall a game where I understand someone giving it a 10 as much as I do a 5.
Okay.
And like, that's weird to compute in my head, because like for me, like right now I'm feeling like, if I just in the moment, I'm feeling like very like 8 out of 10 on it. I'm feeling like 8 out of 10. I'm like, this is a great experience. Cause the thing is like, I'm playing it and it's like, it's such a great experience. The visuals and the audio is off the chart. The puzzles and the combat is nothing to write home about, but like some people say the puzzles and the combat are bad. Really, it's just that the puzzles and combat are extremely basic. It's not that they're bad. And I'm just completely drawn in by the experience. I love the story. I love Senua. So I'm really enjoying that. But I've only got like 2 hours of it left, and I can jump back into Stellar Blade. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in finishing that. It would be cool as if I got it on Game Pass just to be safe. It'd be cool if I could just buy it on PlayStation. That's where I give them the money, is the PlayStation version.
Yeah.
Because I would rather have it on PlayStation. I have Hellblade 1 on my PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I'm having a good experience with it. It's a short game that doesn't have a ton of gameplay. Like, it has gameplay, but it's more an experience. And if that's not for you, then you're not going to be about it. But it's been a great week for games. I haven't had a lot of time, but like Stellar Blade and Hellblade, 2 blades.
A lot of blades.
Having a great time with both of them. So it's been awesome. And to kind of tie in our next segment here, that before we get out of here, that I was also going to come back over to you, is what is at least one game, PlayStation game, that you really, really want to get to, that's really on your mind a lot. And for me right now...
Does it have to be an exclusive?
If you can't think of an exclusive, go ahead and just pick something that's playable on PlayStation. But for me, I'll throw it out there real quick. I mean, I've kind of already touched on them a bit here. I really want to play Metal Gear Solid 1 because that's such an iconic game in history. I think that I'm in the right headspace to love it. And I am now hosting a PlayStation podcast where the artwork is, if you don't see it yet, it's going to be put up soon. It's Metal Gear artwork. So I want to get into that. I want to play that. I'm really excited to get into Metal Gear. It's a part of PlayStation's history. It's iconic. I got to go there.
Yep.
And then the other thing is Nier Automata, because Automata, I keep saying it wrong. Nier Automata, I think.
Yeah, you good.
It's kind of a hard one to say, but like I said, I'm so impressed by Stellar Blade and the feels and the vibes it's giving me, and everyone's saying like, oh, even the people who made Stellar Blade, like they're inspired by Nier Automata. So I'm just like, I gotta play Nier. I gotta discover what this is about. And right now, my wish list on PlayStation is like Metal Gear Collection, Nier Automata. I want to get Metal Gear Solid 5 also, even though Joe's probably like, you don't really need it. I want to get Death Stranding. I want to get System Shock. So many games, not enough time. I don't know when I'm going to get there, dude. But this is what I'm saying. When people say like, oh, gaming the shit right now, I'm like, you spending too much time with your head in the cloud, your head in the gaming industry. Like, stop being on, like, I understand, like, literally right now we are into talking about gaming journalism and like going through publications and talking about drama and gaming news, but like, that's because we can hack it and still enjoy the gaming as a passion. If you're talking about how shit gaming is right now, then you need to stop, because like gaming is amazing. Like actually playing games is amazing right now. I want to play all that shit. It's a great time, Joe. What is something you want to play you haven't got to experience yet on PlayStation?
All I'm going to say is like playing all that Kojima in 2025.
I'll become a different person.
That is crazy, dude. Like,
I will be a different person entirely.
Here's the question. Metal Gear 1 and 2 are on the Metal Gear Solid 3 game. You can play them through that. Are you going to play those 8-bit classics?
Oh,
it's okay to say no. Like, if they're not your kind of game.
The TLDR is I would only play those if I became a big Metal Gear fan first through playing the 3D entries.
Okay.
I'm not opposed.
Yes. I would honestly say that's the correct answer to do, considering you aren't like already into the series.
Yeah.
Like, I played Metal Gear Solid before the 8-bit games. I went back and played them, and it didn't affect me any more than...
Did you play the one that was like the fake 2, or did you play the real 2?
I played Snake's Revenge.
Okay. Is that the fake one? I don't know which one.
Yeah,
okay.
So Snake's Revenge is the fake 2 that wasn't made by Kojima, and it is trash. Like, it's really bad. But yeah, and I played the real 2, obviously, which is Solid Snake. So yeah, cool. My game would be, honestly, like, I'm not necessarily, like, this is the thing, like, I have to really push for this because I'm not necessarily itching to play any PlayStation game, because
I mean, I would accept third party if it's on PlayStation.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. No, I even then I don't have one. You know what? I'm gonna go with a PlayStation exclusive just to keep it consistent. Returnal.
I've considered that, but I don't really like roguelikes.
Yeah, well, I love roguelikes. Like, I adore them. And
I've heard amazing things about Returnal.
The thing with Returnal is it's a bullet hell, so it's like really fast and there's a lot of things thrown at you at once, and I just love that shit. It's basically 3D Cuphead in space in many ways.
That sounds brutal.
It is fucking brutal, and like,
I liked Resogun, which they did.
Yeah, Resogun, from House Marquee, same studio, but or House Mark rather. But yeah, yes, Returnal, because it looks absolutely dope. I love the aesthetic of it. I love like the fast-paced, like fluid, like movement that's going on in that game. I would also say, like, just as a second thing, I want to play the new Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Dude, I was thinking that today. I want to play that. Add that to my list. I'm buying that game. Yeah, for sure.
Because I played the reboot, or the Yeah, I would say it's a reboot more than because it's technically a remake, but like it's not.
It's like it's a reboot. It's like a soft remake. Reboot,
yeah. So but I like the gameplay. The gameplay was really fun. I nearly got the platinum on that, but then I soft-locked myself out of it, and I couldn't be asked to play another playthrough. But I like the gameplay. I just didn't like the story and the way they took Ratchet and Clank in that. It just felt too kiddie-ish. And
we gotta get in this habit of you and me playing the same game at the same time. So we're offering our thoughts on it at the same time. Yeah. I'm not saying we have to do that, but like it'd be cool to do that sometime, you know?
Yeah, Death Stranding too.
No, I mean, something in our backlog, even we both play Rift Apart, or it could be like maybe you want to replay Death Stranding 1 and I play it, whatever. So
well, I will be playing Death Stranding 1 before it releases. So but it will be like the cool thing about it is it will be the first time I strictly mainline it. So. Yeah. If you ever want to like just tell me, dude, like, oh yeah, I'm playing this, I might like just try and jump on it and play like a couple of hours off stream or something, like, and just enjoy it and see like what I can offer to the discussion. But yeah, Rift Apart, Returnal, and then I'm going again, but like Ghost of Tsushima, I really want to replay that, even though I've not.
I want to play it for the first time. That's on my list,
dude. It's so fucking good, dude.
I don't think I said that earlier. The reason I didn't say it earlier is because I already own it. I don't need to buy it.
Yes.
But I want to play that really bad.
So many good games.
But yeah, so to get us out of here, guys, I just want to pitch a couple things and we'll head out for today. If you guys want to leave us an email or a voice clip, send it to wow, I was about to go my other podcast. Send it to criticalframes@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. I am working on this. I'm going to pitch it now. We'll have it up hopefully tonight. We're starting a Patreon. So patreon.com/criticalframes. Here's the cool thing about this patron, taking a different angle than some other patrons. There is only one tier, and it's $5. It is Critical Frames All Access Pass, $5. And with that, you get one full episode of Critical Frames Plus, which is going to be a full episode where Joe and I take a topic. It'll be at least an hour, if not 2 or 3, who knows. Mm-hmm. It'll be an episode that goes exclusively on Patreon. Might focus on one topic or one game. Will be one a month, and 30 days after it's posted, it'll go public for everyone. But it'll be 30 days early on there, extra for everyone in the Patreon. So that'll be part of the All Access Pass. There'll also be a exclusive Discord channel that you'll be able to be in. There'll be an exclusive like tag for your Discord account, like like a role that'll be assigned to you. And then there'll be your ability to have any question asked, and it will, if you're in that tier, it's the only tier. If you're on the Patreon, it'll be answered on the episode. So
definitely.
And then also we're going to shout you out at the end too. I mean, I always worry about like if we get like 200 people, how you shout them all out at the end, but we can pre-record that shit.
Yep.
But for now, it's not a real big problem. So yeah, so extra episode a month. Discord special access, Discord special role, ask a question, get it answered every week, and we're shouting you out at the end of the podcast. It's only $5, guys. Critical Frames, All Access Pass. It's one tier. Go to patreon.com/criticalframes. Come join the Discord. That's free regardless. We'd love to have you there. Come interact with us.
Come talk.
Follow us on the Twitter at x.com/criticalframes. We'd love to have you guys there. But just let us know what you thought of the episode. Weigh in on any of these stories we talked about. Let us know what your plan. Mm-hmm. Guys, thank you so much. Joe, you got any final words?
No, dude, this was awesome. Three's a crowd for the episodes. 3
episodes down.
Yeah, this is nice. It's not too stressful. We've been kind of like figuring out the perfect sort of system to do something like this for a while now.
Getting close to a year.
Yeah, and I feel like
about a year ago. It's getting close. We're about 11 months ago at this point, but about 11 months ago, Joe came to the States and we hung out, and we had just talked the week prior about this idea for Critical Frames, and we would just be hanging out in person.
Yeah.
And there'd be a moment where we'd just switch off. There'd be a moment where we'd look at each other and we'd go, Critical Frames.
This could be a podcast.
Critical Frames. And here we are. And I think it's really great. We got this puts us at about 9 hours of content in just 3 episodes. And I honestly feel like I'm not going to be like braggadocious and say that like this is the best podcast in the world by any means, but like this is 9 hours of great content. I feel
100%.
it's very well produced. I feel like we really brought something to the table here, and I hope you guys feel the same. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Critical Frames, a PlayStation podcast, and we will see you next week. Peace, guys.
Peace.